Hello and welcome back to Lorehammer. I'm, as we decided in the last episode, I'm Marcus Khan, but you can just call me Mark for simplicity's sake. Welcome. We also got two other people. We got Gerald.
Hello. Welcome back, everybody.
What's your White Scar name that you gave yourself when we all did the ritual with the can?
I am Yoida.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's easy to spell. I got that written down nice and easy. We also got Brody. Welcome to the show. What's your White Scar name?
My White Scar name is different than Jaghatai. It's Jaghatai. There you go. Just slight like in there.
Yes.
That's all you got.
More throatal, and that's
more
yes.
guttural. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I like that.
Yeah.
No. We've been learning about Jaghatai Khan and the White Scars, and from now on, I'm just going to call him the Khan. But one of the cool things that I kind of liked was that whole kind of when he gets hold of his legion, and he kind of does this whole ceremony with them where he changes the name and they cut themselves and they do blood oaths and rituals together and they kind of just bond as a legion. And it was cool seeing because not a lot of the other legions kind of have that moment in the same meaningful way, you know, where it's like no real time pressure or anything like that. But that's neither here nor there. That was actually yesterday's episode. Today on this episode, we're talking about the Horus Heresy and the Scouring, specifically about the Khan. I know you guys both like this guy. Be hyped.
Well,
Absolutely.
as the meme goes, he's one of the most based cons, so
yeah.
True. But
yes, he is.
He's also like just like whenever I read any of the Horus Heresy books or anything like that, he was always the Primarch that I'm like, that guy knows what's up. He knows. He knows.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what he knows, but he knows. Like, you know what I'm saying? I follow that guy in battle any day.
Yeah, he's
apart
fucking
from,
tight.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Apart from like 40k Gilliman, like Khan is like the most level-headed of all of them too. Like,
yeah,
a lot of them's got their issues, but Khan is just like, yeah, this situation sucks, but we're gonna do this.
And
yeah.
And everybody kind of like dismisses him because of that. They're like, yeah, he's a barbarian. He doesn't know any better. It's like, well, actually, I'm still a Primarch. I'm still way fucking smarter than you.
Yeah, that was kind of one of my favorite aspects about him too, where I forget who said it, I think it was Court. He's like, oh yeah, him and Layman Russ must really get along because they're kind of both this like savage warrior, you know? And I'm like, oh man, you just made an enemy of the Khan. He does not like that. That's not the vibe he wants to put out necessarily.
No.
He's an intellectual.
Exactly. And don't worry, dear listeners, I actually have found a couple of quotes to back all this up too.
Exactly.
So
yeah, that's why he's all about like Sanguinius. Like he has meetings like in all the books. He always meets with Sanguinius because Sanguinius is the most level-headed other Primarch that he can deal with.
Interesting.
Speaking of, for anyone in the chat, hold on, get this all together. Ta-da!
Ooh, Sanguinius and the Khan all painted up beautifully.
And the Khan. There you go.
Yeah.
Mostly the Khan, since we're talking about him tonight, but I just happen to have old Hawkboy on hand too.
And we got a White Scars chaplain for everybody else who wants to see just some regular cool 40k White Scar models. Just the
all right. If everyone's whipping out their minis, zip.
Oh,
Mark! Whoa! Hey,
Slaanesh,
out of way.
This is not Slaanesh Part 3.
Yeah. No, those models look fucking tight, man. The White Scars have such a cool color scheme with the mostly white and then the red kind of lightning bolts on them. So cool. Yeah. So striking. And you can either make them look so crisp and parade ready, or you grime them up and they look great that way too.
100%.
Yeah. Well, this episode's going to be pretty interesting. Like I said, we're going to talk about the Horus Heresy. if you want to recap, go listen to the last episode where we talked about his origins and what he did in the Great Crusade. Maybe one more quick moment I'll mention about the Khan is the moment when the Emperor came and he had to make the choice of, the same choice he gave many warlords before him, bend the knee or be destroyed. And he knew that he couldn't kill the Emperor, so he bent the knee, even though that wasn't like his kind of jam. But he has this realization of the universe that it's not always what you want it to be. It can be fucking kind of bleak, actually. And you just got to kind of make the best of it. So, kind of interesting, that choice. We have other Primarchs who like arm wrestled the Emperor, tried to drink him to death, or all these different contests, but he kind of had a different mindset.
Exactly. The thinker. He's a thinker.
Yeah. Yeah, so in this episode we're going to go through the delay and deception at Kondorax. There's a bunch of different things here we're going to go through, actually. But we'll end on the Great Scouring and the disappearance, which is pretty interesting what happens to him at the very end. So, the things I kind of, if I was to leave anything from last episode, they came in late to the scene, these White Scars, and Jaghatai Khan, like he was like the 15th, I think, to be discovered. They fought nasty baddies at the beginning there because they were at the end of the Great Crusade, and all the empires seemed to be like, we'll go around this empire because this is a 10-year campaign, this empire, so we'll leave it for the end. So they came into those kind of war zones, which is pretty neat that then they're still like kicking ass. He loved his home world more than pretty much anything else. Like when it comes to a decision, he's kind of like, how is this going to benefit Corgaris, and what would the people of Corgaris do as well? Like he's got a very strong tie. Maybe oftentimes we think of the Salamanders and the people of Nocturne for kind of that communal bond, but this is very similar, man. Yeah, that's kind of my summaries. We kind of went over it. Let's start reading, and maybe Gerald, start with that cool quote that you read me.
Oh, sure. Do we have any housekeeping stuff we want to cover first before we get into the rest of the thing?
What? Fuck it. We've done it like 160 times. At this point, they deserve a break, I think. Give the people
Hashtag join the Patreon. There you go.
Yeah.
Housekeeping done.
Perfecto.
Okay. I apologize if anybody hears any background noise. My rabbit decided he wanted to just have like a hard nap, and he's like snoring really loud right now.
Fucking cute. Okay.
Okay. So to cap this off, here's one fantastic quote on how much of a burn the Khan gives Fulgrim. So for context, this is from the book Scars, and I can't remember which order in the Horus Heresy it is. It's like later on down the line. But so yeah, this is Fulgrim and the Khan talking after Horus has been declared War Master. He wants to be left alone, said Fulgrim, to shoot off into the stars and hunt down Xenos on those delightful jet bikes. The devilishly fast. I heard from a contact on Mars, Jaghatai, that you do strange things to your ships. The Khan shot him a heavy-lidded stare. I heard you do the strange things to your warriors.
And with that, he shot like a lightning bolt out of the room.
That is one of my favorite quotes. Like, it's just like, I hear you do strange things to your warriors. Just burn.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's a nice little insight. Like he sees things that's going on that other people don't see. He's not just playing that, he's not playing checkers. He's a little more.
Yeah.
The thing that like people talk about is like the lion like hides his savageness behind like this air of knighthood. Russ hides some intelligence behind this like overt savagery. Khan just kind of hides his intelligence just by just staying quiet for the most part.
Yeah, because the savagery that he does do, it's done in an intelligent way. He does it so that like there's lessons to it, almost like, okay, well, you can't treat our people like that. If anyone knows anything about like historical Genghis Khan, he wasn't just butchering people for no reason. If you submitted the city to him, he would let your people live, and it would be okay for you. There's that intelligent reasoning behind the savagery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Play by the rules. Don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah. Don't behead the messenger. I won't trample you to death in my floorboards. This is literally kind of what happens to people.
Cause and
Basically.
effect, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
man.
right.
It's fucking crazy to think that's happened to people, but that's
Right.
neither here nor there. That was long ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so enough real world politics. Let's talk about the 40k setting, which is a lot more bleak. All right. Now that we've had that fantastic sick burn from the Khan, Jaghatai Khan grew up on the harsh, unforgiving world of Chigoris, a desert planet where only the strongest survived. From a young age, he was raised in the traditions of the Shogorian tribes, where survival meant mastering the art of speed and skill. Life on Chigoris was one of constant struggle, shaped by relentless winds of the steppes and the brutal natural world that demanded warriors be swift and unyielding. Jaghatai, known for his unmatched agility and prowess in combat, learned the ways of the tribe not just as a fighter, but as a leader. His destiny was not to be confined to the dust of his homeworld, however. His formative years, marked by fierce tribal challenges and a drive for mastery, forged a sense of independence, pride, and a deep connection to his people. He was more than just a son of Chigoris. He was a reflection of its spirit, untamed and wild, yet bound by a code of honor that would define him forever. When the Emperor's Great Crusade swept across the galaxy, Jaghatai Khan and his White Scars answered the call, bringing the fury of Chigoris with them. The Khan, now transformed into a mighty Astartes leader, applied the lessons of his homeworld on a much grander scale, employing lightning-fast assaults and unpredictable tactics that left his enemies reeling. He became renowned for his speed and unrelenting pursuit, striking with the force of a storm and disappearing before the foe could retaliate. His approach to warfare was unconventional, emphasizing mobility and striking from the shadows, making the White Scars among the most feared of the Emperor's legions. Yet despite his lethal efficiency, Jaghatai's leadership was guided by a deep loyalty to the Emperor and an unshakable belief in the unification of mankind. The Great Crusade was the perfect stage for the Khan's talents, but it was also a time of growing internal conflict, as the increasing demands of war began to challenge his ideals of freedom and brotherhood. The Khan's story in the Crusade was not just one of conquest, but of a man becoming the embodiment of the untamable will of the stars.
I love this kind of imagery of how the Khan does war. Yes, it's fast and it's quick and deadly, but as we learned, one of the tricks he had from back in the day is he would fill the sky with arrows. So, and enemies would think the arrows would stop coming, but they never did. There was always arrows, and then the horsemen came in. But yeah, then you turn that into 40k, and it's like the barking of bolters never fires, and it's like then you hear the roar of an engine. It zips by you, but that barking's always happening. You always like feel like you can never poke your head up anywhere without being shot. Like, yeah.
And the unpredictability of it too, like it because it's like the you never know, because everything was on like hover bike, like jet bikes. You never knew if it was coming from the front, side, back. Like you don't know where he's coming from. You don't know if he's
barricades don't matter.
Yeah, you don't know if he's curling around or if he's going through and then stopping there and then just letting it fight back. Like you never know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to counteract somebody that is so unpredictable.
Yeah,
it makes me think of the Jumanji. I guess Jumanji 2, not the sequel to that. The first one with The Rock and Kevin Hart and all of them. And like they were in the first level of the Jumanji game, and it was just called A Mighty Roar. So everyone's thinking it's like some gigantic lion or something, and then they start hearing the roaring, but they cannot tell what side it's coming from. All of a sudden, you just see a ton of motorbikes crest over the hill and just come barreling towards them.
They're like,
ah! Yeah,
mashing. Yeah,
it's a beautiful thing.
Sick. But yeah, so that's kind of how he fought and everything, and his story. But his story doesn't end there. It's all throughout the Horus Heresy as well. The Fifth Legion saga unfolded like a storm, swift and unyielding. As the Horus Heresy engulfed the galaxy, the White Scars fought across 100 battlefields. Their war, a relentless 7-year odyssey against the traitor legions and the twisted horrors of chaos. Yet Jaghatai Khan never wavered. Betrayal was a thought unworthy of him, dishonorable and senseless. The Emperor had wronged no son of his, and the great Khan wrote only for the dream of a unified mankind, a dominion that would claim the stars. When treachery shattered the Imperium, the White Scars were deep in the Chondak system, locked in a grueling campaign against orcs, an engagement orchestrated by the War Master himself. As the heresy erupted, Jaghatai recalled his warriors, the storm gathering at his command. Then came the fractured whispers from the void. Prospero burned. The wolves turned traitor. Russ had slain Magnus. Truth, half-truth, or outright deception. The ruin storm raged, severing the galaxy, warping the sight of astropaths, twisting messages into riddles. Cut off from certainty, the White Scars stood at a crossroads, and the Khan, silent, unreadable, gazed into the maelstrom. Then, with the force of a sudden gale, he moved.
Cool. The one word that kind of, if he had a word that he would use a lot, the Khan, would probably be unity. This concept of like, we're all humans, we got to do this together. There's other things to worry about. And, we talked a brief bit about that choice that the Emperor gave him of come unify the stars with me. It's like, okay, it's not the unity I want, but it still is unifying. So now we come into the Horus Heresy, and it's like this thing that he thought he was coming to, this whole unity idea, like his kind of core part. Like not all the Primarchs believe in unity, Yeah, it was a tough time for him.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Oh yeah, it was just like it's basically just like Big E, you're an asshole, but that's still better than the alternative.
Yep. And you are still providing some type of cohesion. It's not like you're just like burn it all down. We don't want that kind of leader. At least there's some type of vision there.
Right? Just so what do you want, Horus? I want the galaxy to burn. It's like, well, that's not doesn't sound like unity.
Like including my house? Like
yeah. Do you mean like my galaxy?
yeah.
So
Tougher sales pitch. So we'll start with
Wait a second. The stupid joke. Continue.
I want to hear it though, Gerald.
I was just like, wait a second. I live in a galaxy. This is relatable now.
Wait a second.
Delay and deception at Kondax. The first whispers came at Kondax, frayed and uncertain. War against the orcs had consumed the White Scars, but the warp carried broken messages, fleeting glimpses of a deeper storm. The Imperium was faltering, something vast, something unseen, shifting in the dark. The Khan did not sleep. The astropathic echoes told of betrayal, of Russ turning his fangs on Magnus, of the throne world calling his sons home. Yet the signals were fractured, distorted. Who was the traitor? Who was the betrayer? The answers tangled themselves in contradiction. The War Master had fallen, or perhaps was it Russ? Ferrus Manus had slain Fulgrim, or had it been the other way around? Mars had risen against the Emperor, and the Mechanicum tore itself apart in the fire and blood. The tides of the warp had churned all clarity into a storm of uncertainty. And the White Scars stood at the edge, poised between duty and deception. Horus demanded judgment. Dorn demanded obedience. The Khan, unreadable as the wind, listened but did not move. Then Russ himself reached out, his fleet broken, hurried by the Alpha Legion in the Alex Nebula. The twin-headed serpent had bared its fangs, striking not with the strength but with guile, seeking to delay the wolf. A reckoning loomed, a call to arms, yet the Khan remained still. He had no patience for the games of shadows, nor the cries of the dying brothers when truth itself was uncertain. He would not fight blind, he would not act until his path was clear. As the White Scars made ready to leave, the Alpha Legion arrived. They did not strike, they did not speak, they watched. They moved in silent reflection of the Katagan's own fleet. A shadow of mirrored intent. Their purpose was clear. To hold the Scars in place, to keep them waiting, questioning. A game of patience, of careful manipulation. And then, from Terra, the final demand. Return at once. Horus was the traitor. The war had begun. The Alpha Legion had wanted the White Scars to hear that message, and they had stalled them long enough for certainty to take shape. But the Khan did not bow to forces unseen or seen. His legion was not a weapon to be aimed by others. The Imperium had forgotten the white scars until now, and he owed it nothing but the truth. The truth would not be given. It would be taken. The Ordu of Jaghatai Khan would ride their own path. Yeah, so this is kind of, I love this kind of little bit of the heresy where people can't quite believe what's happening. All these messages are cluttered and sporadic, and you don't know who's who. And while other people panic or make moves or start prepping, what does the Khan do? He just kind of sits and waits. It's the first time he doesn't move fast, realistically, but also it's like, no, he's always thinking and waiting for the best time to move fast.
Just because he's not physically moving fast doesn't mean his mind is not moving 1,000 miles an hour.
But does that mean that Jaghatai Khan is actually an Eldar waiting for the perfect time to strike?
Yes, it does. But we'll get more on that when on the disappearance part of this episode.
Perfect. Okay.
I was gonna say, but we'll save it for that. We'll save my part for that.
Oh man. Yeah, very interesting. Like, just even him coming into the Imperium so late. He's just not ready to commit to anything. He's like, I don't really owe any of you anything, like, ultimately.
Yeah. And that's where, like, I think, like, the silent patience that he has, like, he's also known as, like the Warhawk, right? So hawks glide and just basically sit at an altitude watching, seeing where their prey is, seeing what they actually need to do, and then it's a lightning strike. He is just in his soaring phase where he's just waiting to see which is the best opportunity to take.
Fucking awesome imagery, man.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
and this comes to showcase just like that level-headedness that we were talking about before, because like literally every other Primarch is just acting on like their immediate gut reaction of like the stuff that, like the burning of Prospero. Russ hates Magnus. Russ is told to get Magnus. Boom. Like no more questions. Oh my god, everyone's turned traitor. Dorn is just slapping the crap out of Marines that say, oh no, Dorn is just slapping the crap out of Marines that are saying Horus has turned traitor because he doesn't want to believe it. Everyone's acting on like their just gut reaction, but then here's the Khan that's just like, let's hold on a second. Let's see how this plays out, and then we can actually make an opinion.
In the words of Michael Scott, adapt, react, readapt, apt. It's that simple. The Khan has mastered this.
I forgot about that quote.
Oh man,
that's amazing.
Perfect.
That was a lovely Office throwback.
Fantastic. 10 out of 10. We can end it here, guys. We don't even need to do the rest of the episode. Yeah. We're good.
Spoiler alert, he disappears.
Yeah, spoiler.
Oh man.
Oh man. Sweet.
Okay. The Chisel. I promise this is going somewhere. Jaghatai Khan did not hesitate. The order went out, swift as a hawk's cry, and across the void the white scars moved. No wasted words, no lingering looks, only the cold, precise movements of a fleet that had already decided to be elsewhere. The Alpha Legion encircled them, a net woven tight, but nets only catch the slow. The Vox remained silent, the enemy's transmission disregarded. There was nothing more to say. The White Scars did not ask permission to leave, they carved their own path. Now that kind of makes you wonder what part of the Alpha Legion was actually like trying to help the White Scars versus they were trying to hinder it, because again, Alpha Legion does not know whose side they're on half the time anyways. So, anyways. The chisel was enacted in an instant. The White Scars did not operate as others did. Theirs was a fleet built for speed, stripped of unnecessary weight, modified beyond Mechanicum standard tolerances. Tech heresy. Their vessels had been honed over decades. Each reactor tuned to a single principle: momentum. Lesser admirals would have deliberated, strategized, wargamed their escape in council chambers. Jaghatai Khan did not entertain hesitation. The White Scars moved not as a collection of ships, but as a singular, relentless force. The Alpha Legion mirrored their every move, thinking they played the same game. They did not realize they had already lost. The White Scars drifted, spinning outwards, their formation unraveling as if coming apart under the weight of the blockade. The Alpha Legion reacted with professional efficiency, tightening their cordon, adjusting vectors, moving to pin the Sons of Chagoris against the gravity well of Chondax. The White Scars let them believe the White Scars let them believe the battle unfolded in quiet violence. No reckless charges, no blind fury. Probes and counter probes, feints and counters. The Alpha Legion's fire disciplined, measured, contained. They had done this before. They had studied these tactics. They knew what a retreat looked like. They were wrong. At 0 mark, the stars themselves seemed to shatter. The White Scars ignited their drives in unison, an entire fleet transitioning from a slow spiral into a single focused thrust. 5 seconds. That was all it took. The Vanguard became a spear point, the fleet a thunderbolt punching through the Alpha Legion's lines with a breathtaking precision. It was not an attack, it was a passage, a single, unstoppable stroke. Alpha Legion vessels staggered in confusion, their carefully maintained formation ruptured by the sheer velocity of the White Scars' assault. Bronze-powered destroyers shattered, caught in the whirlwind of their passage. By the time the enemy reacted, the Khan was gone, vanishing into the abyss. The White Scars' fleet already translated into the warp. They did not look back. Looking back was for those who were caught.
Fucking cool,
Hell
man.
yeah.
Well, what a move that is, eh? He's got these like souped up ships.
Yeah. I love some of the novels and stuff that are written for the White Scars, because like the chisel, like with what you just described, the way it's described in the book is amazing. It's like, it's suspenseful. It's a whole chapter about ships moving. That's it.
Cool.
But it's like you're on a knife edge, like reading each page, like I gotta, like you're just reading each page as fast as you can, trying to figure out what's going on, how is this working. It's just awesome. Some of the best fleet-based combat written about in the 40K universe, personally.
Cool. Yeah, like it's such a crazy battle of minds of maneuvering miles to try to gain maybe an inch or something, that key difference, and shuffling the ships. So cool.
Yeah, exactly. And I think too, like when you look at the how he's modified all of his ships to be a certain way, like how they move and everything like that. I think that is also extremely cool. Like nobody else is like, everybody does like different things. So like the Iron Warriors, lots of their ships have like way more armor, like, and they're like prow heavy defenses and like big cannons in the middle. And then the White Scars are like, nah, man, I want to go fast. Like all of their names should be Ricky Bobby. Like I want to go fast.
Yeah, what's like the 40K version of Nitro?
Just nitrous.
Nitrous, yeah.
Yeah, loving it.
Like cool.
Oh man. But
I think too I kind of thought was cool that I learned on the last episode. Their jet bikes are actually void bikes. So now picture that, them ripping around through space on jet bikes as well.
Ooh.
Doing those kind of like strike runs on enemy vessels and stuff, dog fighting enemy aircraft and stuff in space. Very cool concept.
Ooh.
Oh
yeah.
Oh no.
Man.
I don't need more White Scar models, but like.
But if you do, go to Merlin Miniatures and use promo code Warhammer.
Yeah, promo code Warhammer.
Then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly, right? It's just
like, very fucking cool, man.
Oh man, but they did escape for a reason. They were seeking answers. The White Scars rode the edge of fate, knowing the storm that bound them to Chondax was no accident. The currents of the warp had been shaped by an unseen hand, an architect of the impossible power, or devices older than history itself. Jaghatai Khan did not believe in chance. If this was a design, then there was a designer, and the only way forward was through. The hunt began. The Khagan ordered his legion to chase the storm to its source, to unravel the force that had shattered the Imperium's path, but only one soul had ever looked into the warp and truly understood its tides: Magnus the Red. Of all his brothers, Magnus alone had earned Jaghatai's trust. If the Crimson King yet lived, hope endured. If he had fallen, then the Imperium's fate was sealed. With fire in their hearts, the White Scars cut across the void toward Prospero. Sword Storm tore from the Imperium into cold reality, augurs screaming as they reached into the dead system. Silence answered. No Vox traffic, no transit trails, no echoes of commerce or war. The void was sterile, as if life had never touched it. Then Prospero swam into view. It had been a world of light, a celestial pearl, streaked with hues of amethyst and ice. Now it lay ruined, blackened, and as if burned from within. The skies churned thick with storm-cloaked ruin, more like the wrathful clouds of Ulanor than the whispers of a once proud civilization. They moved into blockade formation, weapons armed. Jaghatai gave his decree: anything bearing the scent of Fenris would die. As Swordstorm reached its final approach, the evidence became irrefutable. The ground had been sundered by mass drivers, poisoned by residual toxins, fractured by a cataclysmic upheaval. Something else lingered, something unseen. A vast etheric distortion veiled the planet, making landfall impossible. The world was still dying, as if its wounds had not yet finished their tale. The Khan did not wait. There was no time for caution. With a dozen Keshig at his side, he took the storm-racked path of teleportation, knowing the distortion might sever his link to the fleet. The risk was meaningless. He would walk the broken bones of Prospero and find what remained. The city of Tisca lay before them, a monument of cinders. The air stank of molten iron, the stones beneath his boots still warm with death. The past was ash. The knowledge of ages had been turned to ruin. If the wolves had done this, then their savagery was greater than their boasts. But the Khan did not seek retribution. He sought answers. For that, he needed to descend into the depths, into the hidden veins beneath the corpse city. If Magnus had survived, his secrets would be waiting there.
Interesting, yeah. So he kind of makes his choice. Like him and Magnus were close, as we were saying. He's kind of an intellectual. Magnus being intellectual as well. If anyone knows the truth, it's going to be Magnus. So he starts his kind of Horus Heresy journey, looking for that truth. Finds nothing but ruin.
Yeah, I think also too, like when we think about, he is one of the only Primarchs, and the White Scars in general are one of the only legions and chapters even that don't care about the like overarching political schemes of things. They care about right or wrong, or truth or lie. And so if you speak truth to them, they will, defend you or fight with you to the end. But not every other legion's like that, right? They all have political ties. Nobody else is really, really like that.
Yeah, that's a fun concept to think about, like a culture that takes those two things kind of super literally. Yeah, what that kind of would do, if that concept of kind of lying isn't even really a concept. I think of the movie The Invention of Lying, where everyone just has to tell the truth, and that's just the way it is. That's the best way to live, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
exactly.
And then you learn what other people really think, and then that also causes a lot of problems too. It's like that one episode. It's like that one episode in Supernatural where like some guy with God's powers just forces everyone to tell the truth, and that causes just as much, if not more, chaos in the world than people actually lying. So God himself actually comes and says, yeah, there was a reason I invented lying to prevent this.
Gerald is a good kisser, true or false. That's up to the listener to determine.
Yeah. I'll say great. Like
great kisser.
I just see the soft, supple lips, the
pouty.
the nice little mustache. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. He's a beautiful man. But the enemy within says other things. The warrior lodges had spread like a shadow across the legions, a silent, insidious undercurrent beneath the tides of war. The emperor had condemned them, warned of their resemblance to the ancient cults that had poisoned Terra's past. Sorry, one sec here. Yet they endured, moving in whispers, binding others. Sorry, my throat's getting all scratchy. 1 second, lo siento. Binding brother to brother in oaths unseen. Even the white scars had not been immune. Beneath the light of the Kogarian moons, warriors gathered in secret. Man, it's in my throat still. Terran-born veterans, of relentless sons of the steppe alike, sharing hushed words of the future already decided. To them, the Kanagan was blind, his patience a failing, his refusal to choose a side, a weakness that would not abide. Their course was set. When the moment arrived, they moved as a hunter does in the night, swift, silent, absolute. Haskin Noin Khan, once a name of honor, now a brand of betrayal, led them in their treachery. Their allegiance has long been sworn to Horus, their threads woven into the grand design of the War Bastards Rebellion since the distant days of Kondax. And now, with the Primarch absent, the time had come for the Legion to take the Legion for themselves. Hasik Khan gripped the heart of the fleet, and through it, the fate of the White Scars. Orders passed in silence, personnel shift between warships, and noose tightened in unseen coils. But fate does not move unchecked. Shibi Khan, these names are wild, I love them. Commander of the Brotherhood of the Shibin Khan, commander of the Brotherhood of Storm, caught wind of the rot beneath the surface. He sought out Jemulan Noyan Khan, laid bare the betrayal festering in the Legion's core, named Hasik for the traitor he was. Yet Jemulan turned him aside, unwilling or unable to believe. The weight of command had bound his hands, or perhaps a whisper of the lodges had already settled too deep. Shiban returned to his ship, the Kilajan, but he did not sit idle. He was not the kind to wait, nor the kind to let the storm consume them without striking first. His warriors gathered, the Brotherhood of the Storm mustering for war, their weapons ready, their hearts burning. They would not watch their legion be stolen from beneath them. They would fight, even if they stood alone. The fracture within the White Scars had begun, but the storm had not yet broken. Somewhere in the dark, the Kanagan still rode the path unseen. The lodges believed their victory inevitable. Shiban knew better. The step did not belong to the schemer or the coward. It belonged to those of swift enough to strike before the enemy even know they were there. Yeah, super fun. I like that the warrior cults the warrior lodges kind of took root in this. You know, they have such a close tie with Horus. They went on so many campaigns there near the end, kind of a little mentorship. Yeah, you know, I don't think these warrior lodges found any hold in like Reboot Gilliman's Legion, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mostly.
A long time ago, this was during a listener lore. I had asked about, because like you hear about all the
I'm here.
We lost Brody. Okay, we got him back. I was just like, I'm not trying to be mean. I didn't mean to cut you off there, good sir.
I misclicked, to be honest.
Uh-oh. But yeah, you hear a lot of stories about loyalist Marines from traitor legions, but you don't really hear that much about the opposite, or that's what I thought, until you hear about Luther from the Dark Angels, and now this guy from the White Scars. So it does happen, but it seems like the loyalist legions kind of have a better control over that, or you know, they kind of stamp it out better than the traitor legions do.
Yeah. Not as many of them in there, so easier to stamp out when it's not like, Well, we got to get rid of at least 51% of the Traitor Legion
Right,
now.
exactly. No, it's I think it's really interesting. You could do a lot of different stuff when it comes to like, if you look at like the story, like if you played Horus Heresy, you could make a traitor White Scar army. It's just a splinter fleet, because that's how the White Scars really worked as a legion. They would just send a ship with a bunch of warriors, and you're going to go do this thing, and you're not going to see anybody from the legion in a decade. Like, and so you could have, like, if you wanted to, you could model a fallen White Scar traitor like group, and that would look chaos White Scars. Wild.
Would you like change the red to a different color perhaps, or like how would you kind of mark them out as chaos?
You would actually change the red to, like, I think either purple or blue, because I think that the White Scars wouldn't like fall to Khorne. They would fall to Slaanesh for their excess of speed. Like, they are always wanting to go so fast, so they would always want to be going, faster and faster and faster. And how do I get faster? They maybe, like, instead of like the Emperor's Children did all sorts of things to, like, their voice boxes and stuff. Imagine the White Scars hollowing out their bones to make them lighter, faster.
Oh
right?
shit!
Yes. It's funny you mentioned that, Brody. It's funny you mentioned that, because I can't remember. I think there was something in the Dornian Heresy about the White Scars falling to Slaanesh. And yes. And another shout out to Only One Bob. Twice as many, 2 shout outs in as many episodes. Wow. He did a Dornian Heresy diorama with White Scars falling to Slaanesh. So he changed out the red with like bright pinks and purples. And they're just like doing flips and stuff like over like a ruined roadside.
Fantastic.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, that is cool. What about going like black scars? So instead of replacing the red, you replace the white with black, and you keep the same red pattern. And you know how the White Scars have that kind of, they've all scarred themselves. They do that kind of scarring ritual. That black mark, or that scar turns black, and then maybe it like seeps and it creeps, or you see them like start to like fall into that like body horror, like mutilation, where they do that same scar, just not on their hand, everywhere. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Literally.
Now we got the black scars. It's cool when some of these kind of like there's a big enough spot here where you can write some fun chaos White Scars, or traitor White Scars at the very least.
Well, this is just further proof that like Lorehammer needs to do like a bonus episode on the Dornian Heresy, the Gilliman Heresy, stuff like that, because that
maybe
kind of stuff
maybe after the Lore Helper Heresy, we'll do those. One heresy at a time, though. I can only manage
one heresy at a time.
Love it.
Oh man, oh boy. But with all this talk, and of course you got traitor White Scars in their own legion that are trying to take hold, so we have a new threat to deal with. Prospero lay in ruin, a world of ghosts and echoes. The Khan moved through its ashen remains, his boots stirring the gray-silver dust that blanketed the shattered city. The sky above was a restless thing, heavy and bruised, lit by the ceaseless flicker of distant storms. His Keshig fanned out around him, bone-white wraiths upon the ruin. Here was the aftermath of the Wolf's King War, a war Jaghatai had not wished to believe in, until now. He had heard the Star Speaker's warnings, glimpsed the hollow silence in the warp where Magnus once stood. Now, at last, he saw. Leman Russ had always been a contradiction, a warrior worthy of respect, yet weighed down by his own certainty. But this was something else. The destruction was absolute. The crystal spires had been reduced to blackened husks, the gleaming streets buried beneath charred wreckage. The Khan pressed forward through the ruin, his warriors at his flanks. It was near the old cult temples that he first heard it, the droning, a sound like a swarm of unseen wings. The auspex was silent, no life signs, yet the sound remained. A crawling presence at the edge of perception. Disable audio Disable auto senses, the Khan ordered, his voice cutting through the storm-racked silence. The reticules vanished from their sight, the technology stripped away. And there, beyond the veil of auger-scrubbed vision, they saw. Vast and spectral, their forms flickered in hues of ghostly blue-white. Winged, spined, and writhing, they rose from the broken earth like exhumed horrors, twisted remnants of something that had once been more psychnuant. What on earth is that word? Warp spawn parasites, drawn to the minds of the weak, the wounded, the unshielded. They had feasted upon the unprotected of Prospero for centuries. Now in death they remained. The white scars struck first, blades flashing, bolters roaring. But it was nothing. Their weapons passed through the creatures like wind through mist. The Psychnian, that's what I'm going to say, did not need to see. They felt the presence of living minds drawn to them with insatiable hunger. They struck their bloated abdomens twisting forward, spectral proboscises piercing ceramite as though it were paper. Warriors cried out as something was ripped from them, something unseen, something vital. Jaghatai gave the only order that remained: fall back. Then the ground was gone, a fracture in the war-ravaged stone, unseen until it was too late. Jaghatai fell, far and fast. The ruined city vanished above him, the battle lost in the howling dark. He struck stone, buried beneath the ruin, entombed in the collapse. His vox crackled with static, the surface was gone. The Psychnian were gone. And before him stretched a vast hollow world of darkness and silence, a labyrinth beneath Prospero. He had sought something hidden, something buried beneath the lies of gods and monsters. Now he had found it.
Oof. Yeah. That none of the Primarchs really were privy to the warp. It took a lot of them off guard. And even on the home planet of Tragarus, they have some Stormseer psychers and stuff, and there's some cultural warp shenanigans that happen, but it's a very different thing than this crazy vision thing that he's come across.
Yeah, the Psychnuin were crazy, animals basically that hunted warp manifestations. They would basically suck your mind and soul out. They were like creatures that fed off of your, like how everybody's like humans, or every soul is like a candle light in the warp. They just would eat that candle light.
I like to think that we're juice
They
boxes.
do have proboscises that would like enter your mind, basically.
There we go. Yeah, that's
I'm now
nice.
thinking of like that mind bug from Starship Troopers, the one that just
exactly
hooks right into your brain.
100%. Yeah, they're
jokes on them. Nothing in there.
It's like what my dad used to do when I was a kid. He'd like put your hand on his head. He'd be like, "What's this?" He'd be like, "A brain sucker." You're like, "What's it doing?" And I'm like, "Eating." He's like, "No, it's starving." I'm like, "Yeah, shut up, Dad."
Shut up, Dad.
I can't wait to do that.
I'm going back to my room
to
paint my
do
minions.
that as a father. As soon as I have kids, I'm going to be like, guess what? You're getting all the bad dad jokes now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's just a license to be corny, and I love it. It's a great addition to my comedy routine to be dad punny.
If I ever become a dad, I'm gonna do the routine from Fairly Odd Parents, where if my kid pretends to read my mind, I'm just gonna play elevator music.
Perfect. I was talking to Emma, and I was like, if we ever have a kid, how they have like a hospital bag where it's like all the important stuff for like when you go into labor, you go into the hospital and everything like that. I was like, yeah. She's like, it's like I have to have a bag too. And she's like, for what? And I was like, it's got to have white New Balance shoes. It's got to have a really like crinkled polo shirt and some cargo shorts and like reading glasses. And then I got to go to the hospital and get changed to that as soon as I become a dad. And she's like, I hate you so much. If you ever do
Okay,
that, you'll never see this child.
No, your eyesight loses 5
Yeah.
points when it comes out.
Right?
It just
Exactly.
it happens. So no, I hear you.
Oh man. Oh, but I digress. We should really talk less about the fatherhood that I want to have and about the father of the White Scars, Jaghatai Khan.
Nice one.
It's
Yeah,
perfect
that was
segue.
perfect.
Sole survivor. The order to retreat came from Quinja, but the Keshig hesitated. The thought of abandoning their Primarch to the abyss was unbearable. Yet the Cyclones swarmed, spectral and insatiable, their translucent forms gliding toward the White Scars with relentless hunger. Bolters barked in defiance, but the rounds passed through the warp-spawned things like mist. Even as the Keshig fell back, their steps carried the weight of duty unfulfilled. They reached the crumbling fissure, peering into the darkness below, desperate to find a way down. The earth trembled, the runes shifting beneath their feet. It was hopeless. They regrouped on the remnants of a shattered terrace, forming a broken line. The Cyclones came, silent and gliding, their grotesque proboscises poised to strike. Then came the fire. It roared upward from the depths of the city like the wrath of some forgotten god. The chamber filled with searing light, violet and unnatural, washing over the Cyclone in an instant. Their bodies convulsed, twisted, then disintegrated in the maelstrom of energy. The air shimmered, crackling with residual power. Before Quinja could call out, another force seized him, a crushing, invisible grip that locked his limbs, pressing against his twin hearts. A bolter rested against his chest. A figure loomed before him, wreathed in arcane force, clad in ancient crimson. Mark III plate crested in gold, draped in the iconography of the Thousand Suns. That was hard. I just had a stroke. A relic
Yeah.
of a legion burned from existence. His voice was calm, deliberate. Revuel Arvida, sergeant of the Fourth Fellowship, last of his squad, his presence was an enigma, his existence a contradiction. He had watched Prospero die, walked its ruins long after the war had passed, yet here he stood, guiding the Keshig away from the psychic abominations, leading them deeper into the corpse of the city. Through shattered streets and empty halls, Arvida led them into a ruin that had once been a grand audience chamber. The Keshig questioned him, their words edged with mistrust. How did he survive? How long had he been here? His answers were elusive. He had come to Prospero after the ruin had settled, after the echoes of war had faded. The passage of time was meaningless to him, his armor's chronometer shattered, his days a blur of survival and silence. The past had been erased, the present barely clung to shape, and the future stretched towards a horizon none could yet see. They sought Jaghatai, but Arvida warned them against it. The Khan could fight the horrors beneath the city. He was made to fight them, but the Keshig could not. If they valued their lives, they would leave, and when they did, they would take him with them. Yet Quinja was resolute. One final attempt would be made to recover their gene sire. Arvida did not argue, he only asked for time. Time to regain his strength, to gather the last vestiges of his power. Without him, they would not survive what lurked ahead. So sick.
Yeah. Maybe let's just keep moving here in the read. I'm riveted. The Khan moved through the blackened tunnels with relentless purpose. The only path was downward, a descent into the bones of a world long since broken. He had tried to climb, to find another way, but Prospero had swallowed him whole. The Sycuian had not pursued him. Nothing had. That was the horror of it. No sound, no motion, just the quiet weight of annihilation pressing upon him. Then, at last, an opening. The chamber yawned before him, vast and layered, its walls rigid with the scars of metal veins. Brass instrument lay in ruined at his feet, shattered relics of a dead world. Beneath the dust, the remains of mortals, Prospero's sons, buried without memory or mercy. He moved through the ruins, feeling the emptiness coil around him. Then the dust stirred. A shimmer, cold and unearthly, coalesced before him. The figure was tall, his outline fractured by flickering light. One eye, unfocused yet piercing, caught the dim glow of the canver. What the fuck? Carverin? Cavern? What the? Can did not move. Cavern, holy fuck. Now that was a brain aneurysm. Okay, we're equal there.
We're getting there.
Nah, mine might have been worse actually. You know what though? Now that fuck up's out of the way, I can enjoy the rest of the episode being perfect.
Go ahead, Mark. Show them all who's the boss.
Only one brain. Okay. Yeah, I'll show them. The can didn't move. Through his grip of the blade, it tightened. He had known this presence in life, in war, in defiance. Magnus, or something that had once been Magnus. The phantom's voice curled through the silence, distant yet clear. It spoke not as the Crimson King, but as a shade, a fragment of will left behind in the wake of destruction. Magnus had been shattered, his spirit strewn across, like glass across the void. But the fragment remained, to question, to warn, to see where his brother now stood. The vision whispered of fate, of choices carved in blood and fire. The Imperium was dying, rotting beneath the weight of its own lies. The warp had never been kind, never been controlled. It had only waited, watching, patient as the abyss. Horus was lost, devoured by the forces beyond reckoning. But he had not been the first. The whispers had taken Erebus, Lorgar, and others. They would take more. The Primarchs, the Emperor's perfect creations, were not the only ones who could break the Imperium. Only ones who could end the Emperor's perfect creations were the only ones who could break the Imperium, the only ones who could end what their father had built. The gods of chaos did not know where Khan would turn, and that uncertainty made him dangerous. His silence had been a weapon, his speed his shield, but silence would not be enough. Magnus urged him to choose, to stand with the remnants of their father's Imperium, clawing against the inevitable collapse, or to embrace the storm, to ride again alongside Horus and burn the galaxy clean. Khan did not answer. He had seen the corruption in Horus, the tyranny in the Emperor. He would not be bound by the chains of either. But Magnus knew there were no roads that led away from this war. The storm was coming, and when the sky was split and the blood ran deep, they would meet again as allies or enemies. The Khan's blade flashed, its arc swift, absolute. The specter shattered, breaking apart into 1,000 fragments of light. Khan stood unmoving as the echoes of the passing faded. The cavern wall seemed smaller now, the weight of silence heavier. He had found what he came for, the truth sharp as a razor's edge. The war would come, and he would ride into it, alone if he must. The past was burned, the future would be written in the thunder of hooves. Yeah. Fucking cool. He's just like, he's kind of almost happy this happened, where like, okay, you know what? This was never my vision in the first place. You know what though? Horus, that's also not my vision. That's an equal level of crazy here. He's kind of like, I'm going to make my own way.
To quote another lore tuber, when he was talking about this exact moment, he basically paraphrased what the Khan was saying into this. Yeah, my father is a dick, but you guys are siding with the forces of hell. No, thank you.
Pass.
Right.
Thank you.
So here is I've got a great quote here, and you guys got to tell me if this is Jaghatai Khan or Genghis Khan. Because it relates to this.
Trick question, yes.
There is no
game.
good in anything until it is finished. There is no good in anything until it is finished.
Let's go with Khan.
Okay, you're going with Khan. What are you going with, Gerald?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was Genghis, man. That was a real life thing. Oh,
That's who I meant.
okay,
Genghis Khan.
that's
That's what I
it was.
said.
Well, yeah, it's a Khan.
Exactly.
Khan.
Khan.
See,
Khan.
I
Yeah.
knew there was a workaround here. But like that's what I'm saying for
Gotcha, bitch.
Gotcha, bitch.
Who you guessing? I don't know, some bitch. So but yeah, like that kind of quote like perfectly personifies what Jaghatai is. He's like, there is no good in any of this until it's done. Like, if that means it's wiped clean, like the galaxy's burned clean, that's good actually for the galaxy. Not good for humankind, but it's good for the galaxy. Or I ride with the Emperor, and that's the best of what this situation can do. It preserves humanity. And then it's fit it's kind of finished at that point. Humanity is where it needs to be. So it's kind of like this tightrope of like where he wants to go, like how he wants to do things, and he's like this, and then finally makes that decision. Like you can see him going back and forth really easily in that situation, right?
Yeah.
So
Very much. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, now that we've talked about the Khan and good grief, Seth.
Yeah. Seth, reasons I should be a call-in. I know how to pronounce all the Asian names, but mispronounce them confidently. Okay. Number 2, I'm an Asian guy while wearing a white with black hair and a bike. Like, come on. What a comment.
How to go spaghetti, Seth. Love it.
Yeah. We'll carry on. Yeah, we hope to get to some calling guests today for sure.
We'll make that happen. We'll make that happen. So we're going from the Khan to the mini civil war that's happening to his legion. And we're going to see how this develops. A legion divided. Shiban Khan moved with purpose, his brotherhood silent shadows in the void. The Kalajan glided close to the flagship, a predator stalking its prey. He had seen through the deceptions, the whispered lies of Hasek and his ilk. Now vengeance moved in the darkness. With a silent signal, his warriors launched. Void bike streaking across the abyss. There goes that void bike thing that we were talking about earlier. The enemy thought themselves untouchable, barricaded behind steel and betrayal. They would learn otherwise. Aboard the Sword Storm, Hasek Noyan Khan stood firm, hands tightening around the command throne. Torgan Khan's warnings had come too late. Shiban had moved before they could solidify their grip, but they were still in control. The lodges held the capital ships, the fleet tethered by their will. When the Kagan returned, he would have no choice but to see reason. He and Horus had always understood one another. The storm was theirs to guide. The storm was theirs to wield. The first impacts of battle shattered the uneasy silence. Shiban's brotherhood burned through the corridors, bolters spitting death in relentless bursts. Torgan met them head on, his warriors entrenched, but Shiban did not falter. He surged forward, his blade carving a path through the tumult. Brother struck brother, the clash of steel and the hiss of energy fields merging into a symphony of war. They fought without fury, without indulgence, only necessity. The legion was being torn apart, and neither side hesitated. The trap was sprung. Torgan's retreat had not been desperation, but design. Fire erupted from the terraces above, hammering into Shiban's advance. Warriors fell in an instant, bodies shredded by disciplined volleys. Hasek's Keshig loomed ahead, Terminator plate gleaming, an immovable bulwark before the command throne. The bridge was fortified, secured. Hasek's voice rang out, commanding surrender. Shiban ignored it. There was no surrender, only the storm. A rupture in reality, a deafening roar. Blinding iridescence split the battlefield as a teleportation beam struck. When the light faded, the bridge was no longer theirs. 100 more warriors stood in formation, weapons raised, faces impassive. At their head, wreathed in the fury of a storm, stood the Kagan himself. Jaghatai had returned, and judgment rode with him. Ooh.
So spicy.
Yeah, I just picture them all fucking revving their engines. Yeah. I love it. Yeah, I ride motorbikes, man. I haven't ridden one in many years, but fucking just revving your engine at a light, and you got a bunch of your boys all doing that. And everyone thinks you're such a fucking loser, but it's fiber in your balls, so it feels really nice. So what are you supposed to do about it? You ride to war. That's what you do about it.
All I can imagine is that TikTok, that stupid TikTok sound where it's like, I want to go to war. I want a lightsaber. Like, that's all I can imagine you doing when you're revving your bike for some reason. My man.
Yeah, no, that's it. No, that.
Oh man, perfect. I'm not gonna lie though, like the book Scars where this battle happens, perfect. It just beautiful.
Wasn't it one of the higher rated books in the Horus Heresy
it is.
series too?
I've read. I think I've read every single novel. I haven't read every novella, and I haven't read like the collection books of like all the short stories. But I've read like all like the solid novels, and I would say it's in my top 3. Yeah,
interesting. Now, is that just because you're like a big White Scar guy?
It definitely,
though?
it definitely, tints it, like for sure, like
maybe jumped it up like 5 spots, maybe, but
I would say it maybe
book.
jumped up 1 or 2 spots, like because it was White Scars. It's very well written. It's one of the better novels, I think, personally. But like number 1 for me is the very, very first book, Galaxy in Flames. Or is it Horus Rising or Galaxy? It's Horus Rising. Sorry, Horus Rising is the first one. That's one of the best written novels in the Horus Heresy. Is the first one. So like, yes. And then the second best for me is Solar War, which is like the start of the Siege of Terra series with the Horus Heresy, and then Scars. And then like Flight of the Einstein, and I would say probably Betrayer is my other. Those are my top 5 for sure.
Huh?
Yeah.
Battle of the Abyss.
That's your favorite? That's favorite. It's a good one, man. Like it is.
I like them running around in that ship, just fucking wreaking havoc, and just like, holy fuck, this is a city-sized ship.
There's a lot of good ones for sure. Like everybody's got their own preference, right? Like the White Scar stuff definitely pumps it up, like for sure, like 1 or 2 spots. It's probably in my top. Like if I take away my love for the White Scars, it's probably top 10. But like because of how much I love the White Scars, it's top 3. Like. So, but yeah, that's just me. But as the Coggin has returned to the fleet, the Keshig's still moving through the shattered city of Tiska, where the ground still groaned beneath the weight of the catastrophe. Their destination loomed ahead, where their Primarch had been swallowed by the yawning abyss of a ruined square. As they drew closer, the buzzing began, sharp and insistent. Psyche emerged from the very air around them, horrific and ethereal, drawn from the warp itself. The Keshig braced for what they could not fight. These creatures were beyond the reach of their weapons, but they could not yield. Amidst the swarm, the Thousand-Sun Sergeant Arvida defied the odds. Lightning crackled from his hands, slamming into the insectoids with a terrible fury. One of the creatures froze, its exoskeleton solidifying into ice, leaving it vulnerable to Quinja's deadly strike. The sorcerer's bolts continued, pushing the creatures into a corporeal state. The Keshig, emboldened by the sudden shift, began cutting their way through the mass of foul entities, but the numbers kept rising. New, more grotesque forms materialized: scarabs, mantids, and vespid-like horrors, all clawing their way into the world. Arvida's efforts grew more desperate as the swarms pressed in, but still, the signal, the Khan, eluded them. The swarm overwhelmed them, pressing in from all directions. Quinja roared the Khan's name, ready to meet death with open eyes. Then a sudden explosion of force shattered the air, scattering a creature into 1,000 fragments. A lone figure stood, his presence as commanding of the storm. The Khan had returned. Jaghatai Khan, his sword blazing with otherworldly fire, swept through the remaining horrors, his power a seamless integration of will and ether, cut down the creatures as though they were paper. Quinja and his warriors gathered around the Primarch, seeking guidance. No fix had been found for the sword storm, and the Keshig master was uncertain of their next move. The Khan, with the weight of prophecy upon him, scanned the scene, his mind turning. His gaze fell on Arvida, the Thousand Sons sergeant. For a moment, there was no doubt, a flash of recognition. Arvida's aura, so familiar yet so different. This psychic energy, this brilliance, ignited something in Jaghatai's mind, but it was not enough. His brother's path was becoming clearer now, but not yet fully revealed. Suddenly, Mortarion's presence was undeniable, a suffocating weight that descended upon the scene. The clouds above parted as a shard of light cracked through, heralding the arrival of the Death Lord. Mortarion had tracked Jaghatai since Ulanor, and now he had come to claim him. The Khan, unshaken, ordered his warriors to stand down, recognizing the inevitability of this moment. Mortarion's bodyguard, the Death Shroud, emerged with their terrible weapons, but it was Mortarion who dominated the scene. His scythe, silence, gleamed with the promise of destruction. The Death Lord's words were direct. He saw Jaghatai's allegiance for Horus, offering him the chance to stand at the center of a new galaxy. The Khan listened with cold disdain, understanding the dangerous simplicity of Mortarion's vision. Horus would burn, but in his wake others would rise. Mortarion had already sold his soul, now searching for allies in his ruin. The Khan's refusal was swift, a simple truth. He had no desire for an empire. He was the outrider, not a king. Mortarion's rage was palpable, but Jaghatai was unmoved. As the two Primarchs circled, their battle was inevitable. Speed against raw power. The Khan would not bend, and Mortarion's might would not break him. Sick.
Yeah.
Just, I love a lot of the Khan and how he I am not a king. I'm an outrider. Yeah. Sick.
Yeah. I also love how he just faces his problems. Like, okay, Mortarion's here. Time to fuck this dude up. Like, he just gets after
exactly, it. Right? There's I don't know if I like the way he looks now.
And for context, those two never got along well anyways. And you can blame the Council of Nicaea for that because Morty hates Psychers just as much as Russ does. But the Khan was more willing to... He was actually partially responsible for the whole librarian console thing that the departments that the legions had going on to help manage the Psychers and their legions. And so that was something that Morty did not like.
Yeah, exactly.
At all.
But
yeah, that makes sense.
And we can go into more detail when we cover Magnus, Morty, because all of that really plays into the Council of Nicaea.
Even in the council, Khan and the White Scars play a factor, but where the other Primarchs gave speeches, Khan once again remained silent, and he let somebody else do it. So it's it's his jamboree, it's his kind of word out there, but also it wasn't directly him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Up next, we got the Primarch's Wrath. The bridge hummed with tension. The fate of the White Scars hanged by a thread. Shibin Khan tore between death on the front lines and the pleadings of a desperate woman hesitated for a moment too long. His instincts screamed for battle, but her eyes, gray, wide, pleading, halted him. His decision was swift, instinctual, as he scooped the mortal woman into his arms, darting through the chaos of bolt rounds that shredded the air around him. He did not falter. The platform rose, and with one final push, he threw her to safety, his body falling amidst a storm of searing light. The explosion of light shook the command deck as figures emerged from the disorienting radiance. Among them, a figure massive and terrible, clad in ornate, battered armor, his cloak tattered from the storm. Jaghatai Khan strode forth, every step a statement of his presence, his mask a face of fury and scars. The battle between his own warriors raged around him, but the Khan, the eye of the storm, his gaze sharp, burning with the cold clarity. His Kashyyyk followed like shadows, a reminder of the weight that stood behind him. The combat on the bridge faltered as the Khan's aura cut through the noise. His eyes swept over disarray. Warriors of his legion locked in frenzy, lost to the madness, not their own. Mortarion's mocking words echoed in his mind, the truth of them sinking deep. Half his legion had already turned, his gaze fixed on Hasik Nolan Khan, the man now at the heart of the storm. Betrayal burned in the Khan's heart. His Dio, slick with the blood of traitors, felt heavier as he advanced towards his former brother in arms. The bridge fell silent as the Khan and Hasik faced off. The Noyan Khan, gripped by his misguided visions of unity with Horus, could not see the truth. The Khan, in his fury, did not wait for the words. His blade swept across with inhuman precision, striking down Hasik's weapon, leaving him vulnerable. The Tao cleaved through the Terminator armor with ease, sending a shockwave of disruptive energy that paralyzed his once trusted lieutenant. The Khan's strength, unmatched by any mortal, hoisted Hasik into the air. The weight of his betrayal undeniable. He tore the helm from Hasik's head, revealing the shock and fear of the man who had dared defy his Primarch. With a final act of contempt, Khan cast Hasik aside, his body crashing into the command throne. The Khan's rage burned bright in a fire that threatened to consume him, but even in his grief of betrayal gnawed at his soul, his focus shifted. The war outside was not waiting. The Death Guard were already engaging. There was no time for vengeance, no time for grief. His duty was clear. Turning to his crew, he gave the order. Full burn. The White Scars would chase the Death Company into the void, a relentless storm of destruction. And in that storm, there would be no mercy. Yeah.
Yeah, like the full burn part.
Man.
Like, just so sick.
Yeah. Fucking fire up those custom engines and let's ride the stars.
So sick.
Fucking. What was Hasik thinking, man? Like, he's like, yeah, I could just kind of betray my Primarch and take him on in close combat and
Right.
fucking goon.
Luther did it. Why can't I do it?
He hadn't done it yet. So
yeah,
but yeah, that's the thing, man. Like I don't understand. Like it's kind of funny. Like when some of these guys think they can take Primarchs on one-on-one. Like you're a Space Marine and you're like, I got him. I'm gonna get him. It's like, no, you're not. No, you're not. Like
I'd win.
Like there's this great scene in one of the books where the Space Wolves have sent like a squad to watch over like Reboot Gilliman, and Conrad Kurz shows up, and this squad that is like they're trained and designed to basically kill Primarchs and like kill other Space Marines, and they almost get Conrad. Like they almost kill him, and I'm like, but it took 10 of them, and most of them died. like in your one dude, you're just like, I'm gonna take him, and you're like, no, you're not.
Yeah, good fucking luck.
In their defense, though, Kurz has like that foresight, so he could see their moves before they make them. So they kind of had that going against them from the beginning.
Oh, it's not cheating. Stop saying that.
Cheating. It's like
Gosh.
it's early 2000s Halo, and you're saying no screen peeking, okay? Stop it.
I'm not
gosh,
doing
quick
that.
camping. Quick camping, guys. Gosh.
Oh man.
Oh man. But with all of that, there was a second battle of Prospero. No thanks to Morty and the Death Guard. Hey, Morty.
Come on, Morty.
I'm sorry. I was gonna make a Rick and Morty joke, but I can't follow through now.
You tried, and that's what's important.
Okay, the second battle of Prospero was swift, brutal, and unrelenting. Mortarion's Death Guard, once eager to cement a new alliance, found themselves cornered and outmatched, unable to outrun the fury of the reunited White Scars. Broadsides and attack runs flared into the void, but Mortarion knew the fight was futile. With a decisive order, he withdrew, leaving behind a trail of burning wreckage as his forces fled into the warp. Prospero was left to the Khan, but the victory was not without cost. The White Scars fleet held the field, but not all aboard were loyal. The Khan's presence on the battlefield was a storm in itself. Relentless as he tore through his legion's dissidents with the cold, unforgiving precision of a blade through flesh. Vessels were secured for traitors, and in every corner where rebellion lingered, blood was shed. The Khagan's wrath was swift and brutal. No apology or contrition would save the warriors who had lined themselves with Horus. His retinue cleared the dissidents, restoring order with unflinching authority, stamping out any remnants of rebellion with the might of the White Scars. Yet not all was purged. Smaller ships vanished in the aftermath, some destroyed in the conflict, others slipping away, too far gone in their treason to return. The warrior lodge's influence had spread deep within the legion, leaving seeds of betrayal that would take years to fully rip from the roots. But for now, the legion gathered, fractured but resolute, under the watchful eye of their Primarch. The purge was brutal but necessary. The legion's true enemies lay ahead. Quick question for Mark. Did Lorehammer ever go over have an episode on warrior lodges specifically, or has that yet to be talked about?
You know, there's been maybe some brief mentions, but definitely not like too much. Because even the Primarchs that we've done, they weren't like super heavy in the warrior lodges. Like we've done Perturabo and Fulgrim and the Lions. So
Okay. I
but
know they play a big part when we get to Horus and especially Lorgar, but
yeah, for sure.
but I know for some listeners, especially those who are kind of newer to the setting, or they're like, "What the fuck is a warrior lodge?" And like, how does that relate to the Space Marine legions and the Horus Heresy and all that stuff? So,
Yeah, it's like a secret club within the club. You know, only the cool kids can join the warrior lodge. But then you get all the secrets, which are really just chaos demons in your ear.
Yeah, pretty much.
Whatever.
if you don't know, now you do know.
If you don't know, now you know.
Can't finish that line.
Nobody will bug us all. Now it's like it's like going do, and then not finishing it. It'll drive us all mad. I love it.
Oh boy.
Oh man. Amidst the fire and fury, the Khan took counsel with those closest to him. Hasek Noyan Khan, once a leader of the disaffected, was taken in chains, his fate sealed by his betrayal. Alongside him, others would wait in the dark for the judgment of the Khan. The White Scars had no mercy for the traitor, and the penalty for betrayal was always clear. Meanwhile, Arvida, the Thousand Sons who had remained with the White Scars, spoke to Yasuge, the Stormseer, both men haunted by the uncertain fate of their fallen comrades. Magnus had fled, and Ahriman was lost to the void. No answers, only silence. Hey, Seth in the chat, how is my pronunciation of these names? I'm genuinely curious.
Yeah,
The
he's out there
Khan
mocking mine. You know, you can't make fun of somebody with my condition, I'll have you know, Seth.
What condition is that, Mark?
Dare we ask?
Yeah, no. It's a mix between just like lazy and retarded.
Don't we all?
Yeah, it's not fatal. I can tell you that. It's not contagious, but it does affect my day-to-day life.
Anyways,
Donkey Grim says donkey brains. No, I do not have certified donkey brains. I was never given a certificate for that.
No certificate of authenticity for that.
Similar, for sure. No, sir.
oh man. Source. The Khan, silent amidst the chaos, withdrew to plan. His warriors, weary from the cleansing of the legion, stood ready for what would come next. The summit of the Khans loomed, a necessary reckoning where old wounds would be addressed. It was clear now that Horus was no longer the leader they had once followed, and the time for petty grudges had passed. The White Scars were ready for war, their blood thirsting for vengeance, their unity tested but unbroken. As the fleet began its preparations, the Khan knew one thing with certainty: there would be no peace until the traitors were brought to heel. And I must say right now, I don't know how many times I've just said the word Khan in just like one paragraph. I understand the naming and the ranking conventions of the White Scars, but holy crap.
Yeah, jeez.
Okay. Why did all my notes just went away? 2 seconds.
Oh, all good. All good. In the meantime, how many White Scars did it take to screw in a light bulb?
I don't know, Mark, how many?
Why, it takes 3 White Scars to screw in the light bulb.
Why does it take 3 White Scars to screw in a light bulb, Mark?
This is the worst time buying gimmick ever. Brody, do you have your notes? Save me, man! I'm drowning.
I just got it pulled up. I'm just coming out. I was at Flight from the Traitors, right? Okay, there we go. In the aftermath of Prospero, Arvida's body and mind were fractured. The psychic scars from his time on the Burning World ran deep, yet his will remained ironclad. He was drawn into the orbit of Yasuge Targutai, the Stormseer, whose whispers of unity between the White Scars and the Thousand Sons would not cease. The Thousand Sons had been branded excommunicata, and traitors, excommunicata and traitors. Yasuge, desperate for an ally, saw in Arvida the potential for a union that might heal both their broken fates. Yasuge, relentless in his persuasion, called upon his legion's artificers to craft a new symbol of allegiance, a hybrid pauldron that melded the iconography. This word, man, iconography, oh my god, thank you. I was just like, why is it so hard for me to say it? I'm like, it's because I'm reading it wrong and I have a dumb brain.
Man, and on this show, if we have one more mispronunciation, man, I think it'll tarnish our good name, you know?
Bold of you to assume I had a good name to begin with.
Oh my. Okay. Of both legions, it was a powerful gesture, an offering to bind Arvida to the White Scars, to erase the remnants of his loyalty to Magnus. The armor was magnificent, forged to represent a new path. Yet the Thousand Son could not be swayed. His loyalty was not so easily bent. In the end, he refused Yasuge's offer with quiet certainty. The Emperor's light still called to him, as did the image of the Raven. The image of the Raven haunted Arvida. It was not a symbol of hope, but a harbinger of something darker, a vision tied to his fate, one that had come to him during his time stranded on the desolate surface of Prospero. The Corvidae cult sigil had burned itself into his mind, its shadow now entwined with his destiny. Arvida could not escape it, nor would he try. His path was set inexorable. The ravens would guide him even as his body twisted with the horrors of the flesh change. The flesh change was an affliction and a curse, an inevitable part of his genetic legacy. As his power returned, so did the mutations, distorting him, reshaping him into something else. His once pristine form began to shift and warp, but it did not break him. The transformation was a brutal reminder of his lineage, a mark of what he had become. The Thousand Sons were a legion of sorcerers forever marked by their own dark fate, and Arvida felt it coursing through his veins, both a burden and a blessing. He was no longer a warrior of the Emperor alone. The path he walked was no longer his own to dictate. Arvida knew with an unsettling clarity that his destiny was bound to forces beyond his comprehension. Yet he would remain true to the Emperor, true to his legion, no matter what horrors awaited. The storm was rising, and Arvida would face it with the full weight of his resolve. The Raven would lead him, and he would follow, unrelenting, unyielding until the end.
Cool.
Yeah.
This like raven creature thing. You read the book. Is there a little more information on that or anything?
It kind of ends there. You don't really see what happens with Arvida in that book.
Okay.
And it kind of like it basically he knows that like he's starting to change, but that's about it. Like, and then it does get addressed again in a different book, but I'm a little spotty on what ends up happening with him. So
interesting. Okay. Well, we'll jump forward to the path of heaven, which is 4 years that have passed since the White Scars began their war of attrition against the traitor supply lines. Striking with brutal precision in the depths of the void, at first, their lightning-fast rage shattered the enemy's reach. But as time wore on, their numbers dwindled and the odds turned grim. The ambush at Illuvian delivered the final blow, and the Catagan, driven by a singular relentless vision, set his course for Terra. He would stand with the Emperor when the inevitable siege came, but the journey was fraught with obstacles, each one more insidious than the last. The Rune Storm, a monstrous warp rift conjured by the Word Bearers, blocked the White Scars at every turn, isolated the galaxy in a storm of madness. Communication shattered and safe passage became a cruel memory. The traitor forces, led by the deathless Eidolon and boistered by the Death Guard, dogged their every step. Their fleet was a shadow, ever closing, relentless in its pursuit. Time was running out, and yet the Canagan never wavered. He would find a way. He had to. Then came the discovery at the Callium Gate, an ancient relic of the Dark Age of technology, abandoned long ago. The White Scars saw their chance, but the traitors had already anticipated the move. Eidolon, ever watchful, had foreseen their attempt and laid his trap. But by the time they arrived, the gate lay in ruins, surrounded by enemy forces. And a brutal battle ensued, and in its chaos, it seemed that Canagan had fallen, mortally wounded at the hands of Eidolon. But it was a feint, a sacrifice. Ha 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 ha! You can't kill a Primarch. You're just as stupid as Astartes, Eidolon. Keshkiv, master of Zan Z, or how Qinxa, had donned the Canagan's armor and thought he escaped. His wounds would eventually claim him. As Arvidia fought his own internal war against the flesh change, his friend's dying words burned into him. Fuck that guy's name. Plea was simple. Find a cure. And so Arvidia's path twisted once again. Guided by the ancient navigator Pietir, Aculix of the White Scars made their way to the Catalius Rift, a place of mastery and danger. Hidden within the turbulent depths of the dark glass, an ancient and immense power. It was said to have been part of the dark technology that led to the construction of the Golden Throne itself, and it offered a way to reach Terra, bypassing the perilous warp. But there was forces that would not allow it. The rogue agent Vale, embedded within their ranks, was sent to ensure the destruction of the Dark Glass. As the station fell apart around them, the Stormseer Yesigi made a final sacrificial act. He linked his soul to the Dark Glass, opening a path through the webway to Terra. With the White Scars following, they fled, the traitors snapping at their heroes, but the cost was heavy. Yesigi, astral form, left a final message for Arvidia: guide them to Terra. And so, with the demons swarming the fleet, Arvidia's psychic powers faltered under the strain, and he collapsed. In the darkest hour, Khalid Hassan arrived aboard the Lance of Heaven, bearing the promise of Malkador the Sigillite. Avidia's life was in jeopardy, and the Sigillite had waited his arrival. In a ritual that transcended life and death, Avidia's mind was melded, and the shattered soul of Magnus the Red, the Primarch's psychic echo, left behind on Terra. The hybrid being, now known as Ineus or Yanis, was born. A new chapter began, one that would see him rise as the first Grand Master Supreme of the Grey Knights, a relentless force in the war to come. Yeah, Buck, there's a couple of things that happen there. That's interesting. Dark Glass is pretty cool in this kind of like ancient Dark Age technology that's allows access to the webway. And it's kind of the ancient beginnings or the first beginnings of the Golden Throne.
Yeah, very interesting. I didn't realize that Arvida became Janice. That's super sweet.
Apparently, now, I can read and I can do research, but, I might not always be right. But that's kind of the vibe I was getting.
Yeah, that's sweet, actually. They just, like, took a shard of Magnus and this dude's soul, and they're like, beep. Like, let's just put these together, and now we've got a Grand Master.
Cram these two things together.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense, too. Because when you think of the name Janus, because Janus is Roman mythology, he's only Roman, he wasn't borrowed from the Greeks, but he was always depicted as literally two-faced. So to take Arvidia and then a shard of Magnus and then just put it all together, you get Janus. So that makes perfect sense.
Cool.
Love that.
I also like this whole kind of rune storm, path of heaven, like just trying to get through that. We have the Cicadrix Maledictum now in 40k times, which is that very similar kind of impassable terrain feature in the galaxy.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I kind of wonder what like the scene was like during the Heresy when all those warp storms were just going on all throughout the galaxy. No thanks to fucking Lorgar.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah. Okay. So now we finally made it home. Let's talk about the Siege of Terra. In the heart of the Siege of Terra, as the walls of the Imperial Palace shuddered under the relentless hammer of chaos, Jaghatai Khan's fury burned brighter. The once proud defenders, driven back to the very heart of humanity's sacred bastion, seemed on the verge of collapse. But Khan, ever the strategist, saw the battlefield through a different lens. The flanks were invulnerable, but the spaceport, the lifeline of the traitor forces, remained vulnerable. In a single swift motion, he redefined the course of the war. He tore his mobile Ordu and the Imperial Army's remaining tanks from the line and sent them hurtling towards the Lion's Gate spaceport. At dawn, the storm hit. The traitors, their forces fixed on the breach, never saw it coming. In a violent flash, Jaghatai's warriors struck like a spear, tearing into the garrison with surgical precision. The spaceport was retaken. The Chaos forces reeled, and Jaghatai's order was swift. Reactivate the defense lasers. No more reinforcements, no more dropships to ferry the traitors into the heart of the city. With this sudden strike, the White Scars severed the traitors' vital flow of troops and supplies, cutting the assault in half. But Khan's brilliance did not end there. As the spaceport buzzed with energy and movement, he held his ground. The traitors, stung by the loss, launched desperate counterattacks. They were met with relentless precision. The White Scars stood firm, their strike a harrowing example of what speed and fury could accomplish. As Chaos forces scrambled, the Khan's forces obliterated the unprotected dropships. The battlefield was shifting, but the war was far from over. And this just gives credence to what Brody was talking about earlier about the Khan. When he strikes savage, he is very savage, but he does it with a purpose. He's not just like blind rage or blind fury.
Yeah.
The Loyalist forces, emboldened by the Khan's success, tried to push their advantage by assaulting the Eternity Wall spaceport. But the traitors had learned their lesson and reinforced the garrison. The White Scars did not falter, but their reach was momentarily stymied. History, ever fickle, recorded little of what followed. Jaghatai and his legion, however, did not retreat into shadow. They moved through the veins of Terra, striking at the heart of the traitor forces with relentless raids. Terra became a battleground, a place where the White Scars struck like lightning and vanished before the enemy could retaliate. When the dust finally settled and the Emperor struck Horus down above the broken world, the White Scars emerged, battle-worn but undefeated. Khan's legion had seen the siege through, not with grand speeches, but with the grinding ferocity of battle. They harried the traitors as they fled Terra, and their every retreat met with bloody vengeance. As the Chaos forces scrambled toward the Eternity Wall spaceport, the White Scars descended upon them, relentless in their pursuit. The Great Scouring would come next, and for the White Scars, there would be no escape for the defeated. Blood would be paid in full.
Yeah. Man, of all the legions, there's 3 that kind of were at the siege. There's the Imperial Fists, there's the Blood Angels, and this White Scar. That's all, eh? And just imagine them there holding the gates, man, and holding against the forces of chaos, and how badass and gangster it is. They're riding the plains. The once dried up oceans of terror is now being run down by White Scars and stuff.
Yeah,
so cool.
It's super sweet. I love that like imagery of like what they are, because like you said, you got the Imperial Fists, the Blood Angels, and the White Scars are like your 3 main, and then there's like smattering of all the other legions that are like in their own little groups. But like the Imperial Fists are the stalwart defenders stationed at every fortress. The Blood Angels are basically there as like everybody sees the Blood Angels more like how they see Salamanders. Like they were the more human aspect of the Astartes. Like, so like people kind of went to them when they had problems instead of the Imperial Fists, because they could talk to the Blood Angels. And then nobody talked to the White Scars because they're like, these guys are crazy. See the bikes they ride? Look at them guys, they're crazy. So
they're fucking wild.
So but like the one thing that I really liked about the Siege of Terra and how it perfectly, this exchange between Dorn, Sanguinius, and the Khan all together really shows you what the Khan is all about. I'll just read it really quick. Every strategic sense I possess tells me that Horus will direct his forces to reave the planet and exploit our concern for humanity, said Dorn. He does this expressly to divide our force efforts. When we are split and our warriors spread, that is when the War Master will fall on us and seize victory. We must stand united. Then you do not disagree with me, said the Khan. The population is at risk. I anticipated slaughter long ago, said Dorn, and I regret that this chain of events comes to pass, but we cannot respond to whatever provocation Horus presents to us. We cannot let ourselves be lured out. We cannot follow his plan. We will make ourselves weak. Then all is lost. Since when was saving mankind from the darkness a sign of weakness, said the Khan. Sanguinius, my brother and comrade, what do you see? Lend me your foresight. Sanguinius shut his eyes. Like that, he appeared drawn and tired, a funerary monument to himself. Dorn suppressed a shudder. My sight is not so clear as father's, said Sanguinius. The future is ever in flux. Only some events. He paused, finding the words hard to say. Only some events are certain. Do you see me? What will be the consequences of inaction? I see fire and blood and a world laid waste if you do not act. If I act, said the Khan. Sanguinius opened his eyes to look at him. There is a grave risk to you, a confrontation unlooked for, and if you survive, a flight from one danger into greater peril. Who will I face? I cannot divine. Will I save lives? Sanguinius nodded. Many. That is what I was made for, said the Khan. I will ride out. Like, that's
sweet.
Again,
ultra based. So sick though. I love the Khan, man. I don't care if he's based. Based as fuck for me.
Yeah. Okay, I'll ride out to meet him. Fuck
Man,
them.
so sick. I think like that
Yeah.
exchange where like the Khan, all the whole horse, like the whole Siege of Terra, he doesn't listen to Dorne once. Like he's just like, yeah, I have this great plan, guys, but I need all three of you. And he's like, nah, screw you. I'm gonna go right out into the plains. I'm gonna save the people. It's what give the people what they want.
Yeah.
This course of action is
Yeah,
ill-advised,
exactly.
Khan.
Oh man. So sick. But yeah, like I think the Khan, like everyone says Vulcan is the most humane or like caring. I think it's the Khan, man. I honestly think that.
Yeah, like, you know, he really does care for the people of his planet. He cares for people in general too. I could agree with you. You know, if you cross the Khan, man, you're gonna think he's the most savage person in the galaxy. But if you're on his good side, life is actually
Yeah.
really good.
It's very different, and if you as a human are like seen as competent by them, they hold you in super high regard, and they will like actually listen to you. Whereas like most Astartes and most like Primarchs are like, yeah, you're just a human, whatever, man. Yeah, but
Yeah.
like with the White Scars, like there's multiple humans that they're like, no, you are like really well like respected in this area. We respect you. We've seen what you can do. We're gonna and these guys would just listen. Like if there was like this one lady general who basically was like their supply chain person, and she was like they were just like always listening to her. Whenever she said anything, they were like, "Yep, no problems. We're gonna do that. Like we'll just make it happen." And everybody's like, "How do they listen to you?" And she's like, "I understand them. They understand me. This is how we work. Love it."
Huh.
Sean Connery, Grimaldus.
Formaldus as the cat of the night. Gerald, was that in a Sean Connery voice?
I was trying to channel my hold on. Let me see what I can do this. I was trying to channel my inner text to speech Rogodorn voice. So it might come off as a little bit of Sean Connery. Yes.
Yeah. You know what's really funny is when I like tried to like explain to my wife who Sean Connery was, and then she was like, "Oh, is he the guy?" Sean Connery. Yeah.
Jonathan.
Connery.
Yeah.
Love it.
And in regards to that quote that you read too, Brody, Plain Jane here, that's a mic drop right there.
So sick.
Yeah.
But after the Siege of Terra was the Great Scouring. During the Great Scouring, Jaghatai Khan and the White Scars became relentless hunters of their traitorous brethren, striking with the same speed and fury that once shattered the enemies of the Emperor. Unwilling to be bound by rigid campaigns of attrition, the Khan led his legion in rapid, devastating strikes across the war-ravaged galaxy. Harrying the remnants of the traitor legions as they fled into the Eye of Terror. The White Scars took particular vengeance upon the sons of Horus and the Death Guard, whose betrayal had cut deep, pursuing them through warp storms and shattered worlds with unmatched mobility. They disrupted supply lines, shattered warbands before they could regroup, and ensured that those who had forsaken the Imperium found no refuge beyond the ruin of their failed rebellion. Yet even as they carved their legend in the fires of vengeance, the Khan remained elusive, vanishing into the void when the Great Crusade of Retribution neared its end, his final fate shrouded in mystery.
Yeah, and we'll just keep going on with the disappearance here. 7 years after the end of the heresy, the Imperium, now tethered to the reboot Gilliman's rule, sought rebirth under the banner of the Codex Astartes. The White Scars, once bound by the relentless vision of their Primarch, grudgingly split their might into successor chapters, adhering to the Ultramarines' dictates. But the Khan's eyes remained fixed on a darker mission, one that had consumed his legion and him, body and soul. The Yashin sector, nestled in the volatile Ultima segmentum, fell under the Khan's charge. His homeworld, Chagharis, had been scarred by savage raids of the Jaghatai. Their slaving fleets ravaged the Chagarian people in their wake of the heresy. The Khan's wrath was swift and unyielding. He swore oaths that resonated in the hearts of his warriors, and the White Scars became instruments of vengeance. They fought with ferocity that shattered the dark filth of the Maelstrom, driving the Jaghatai back into the shadows from whence they came. For 70 years, Khan waged his war across the galaxy, the White Scars at his side. The Imperium had begun to heal, but the Khan's battle was personal. Then, in the year 084 M31, he vanished. The records say he pursued a mighty dark Jaghatai lord, the same that had terrorized his homeworld in the blackness of the Maelstrom. The Khan led his first brotherhood into the warp, into the Jakhari's webway, and was swallowed whole by the void. What became of the Khan is a question that echoes in the hearts of his sons. Some say he was lost to the Maelstrom of the warp. Others whisper he was slain by the very lord he hunted. But the White Scars, ever relentless, refuse to believe the Khan is gone. They know him still, fighting in the shadows of the galaxy, a phantom in the webway, forever hunting those who dishonor him. The White Scars carry on his name, their hatred for the Jaghatai, a fire that has never been quenched. They are their Khan's blade, striking down those who defy the Emperor, and they wait and wait for the day when the Khan will return, leading them once more into the final hunt that will unite the galaxy and burn their enemies to ash. Until that day, the hunt continues, for the Khan never truly left. Fucking cool. Yeah, I love when we get to the disappearance of like what actually happened to these guys. Oftentimes they just kind of came up with these cool ways to fade away. And this is one of the few ones that kind of met his end to Xenos potentially.
Yeah, like the implications that he might be in Comora, like held by a Drukhari lord, is crazy.
If we had this conversation 5 years ago, we would probably end it there and be like, yeah, that would be cool. Too bad we'll never see it. But man, I think we'll see a Khan medal eventually. Like it's going to happen.
It's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time since they brought back Gilliman for 8th edition, and now we have Lion, the Daemon Primarchs, and all that. Yeah, it's only a matter of time.
It's only a matter of time, which is cool, man. We'll find out. Like, what was he doing in the webway for 10,000 years? Some people think he might have joined the Harlequins and stuff and went around with them and did some stuff.
He is one of the only Primarchs that I could see actually working with Xenos.
Yeah, like you said, he's like, his goal is unity. Is he xenophobic? Probably, but also probably some Xenos, like the Eldar, humanoid Xenos are probably okay in his book, or more tolerable,
Yep. And of course, this is non-canon, but there is like a section in text-to-speech where like a lot of it takes place in Kamara. And then there's one scene where it pans down from like Vex Palace, and then you actually see Khan just kind of show up on a motorbike with a couple of White Scars that followed him. He's just like, oh, this is weird. And then he just drives off, and that's all you see of him.
That's all.
Yep.
That's funny.
So that was pretty funny. But I'm really surprised to hear you say the stuff that you just did, Mark, because I'm pretty sure like 5 years ago you would probably slap the shit out of you for saying that.
I never said I liked it. I just admitted this is where we are in life.
I never said I wanted it.
Okay, good.
No, yeah,
okay,
I just accepted
good save.
it. Yeah.
Oh man,
it's so funny.
Oh man.
When you're in it, you're in it. That's
telling you, if they do a Jaghatai Khan like 40K model, I'm selling every other army I have, and just White Scars. I want the whole Legion. Like I'll just start from scratch, man. Let's make it happen.
Do it.
Nice.
What would be even cooler is if they actually have him on like some kind of void bike. That would be really cool.
That'd be super sick.
So
yeah. I just posted call-ins in the chat. People are welcome to come call in now. We do have 2 more sections about his personality and war gear, but honestly, I think we should probably just skip that and have call-ins. That'd be funner. His personality, we kind of went through it pretty good, I feel like, and we'll talk more about it with guests, I'm sure. And the one piece of war gear I wanted to mention real quick was a 2-handed Tulwar sword, which is like a curved kind of scimitar type sword. Yeah, there it is on the screen there.
Bow or something like that.
Yep.
They call it. I think they just had a Tulwar shaped power sword, is what I found. But yeah, they definitely have something. Yeah, he has a short sword that's called like the White Tiger Dow or something like that. But yeah.
Before we go into Collins, I do have actually another quote. Again, this is another burn against Fulgrim, but it just again kind of showcases like the Khan's personality, which we've talked in length about before. But this is still a fun quote, so if you'll permit me, of course.
Take it away.
Okay,
Mom.
Okay, so for context in this quote, this is in the same book from the same section, but this is Fulgrim offering to fight the Khan on his home front in Jagoras. And so this is the Khan's reply. "You would lose," said the Khan. Fulgrim grinned, but there was something fragile in it. "Oh, you would lose because you would treat it like a game, like you treat everything, and I would not. You would lose because you know nothing of me, and I know everything of you, because you shout it from the turrets of your battle cruisers. My prowess remains unknown. You have some reputation as a swordsman, brother, but I make no boast when I tell you I would leave you choking on it." Fulgrim's cheeks flushed. For a moment, he looked like he would go for his blade. As ever, Sanguinius's calm smile soothed the moment.
That's a great quote. Yeah, just shows that like mysteriousness and also like that edge that he has, man. Like if he's gonna clap back at you if you say something against him.
Right.
Cool. Well, let's jump to the call-ins. The Heresy Hangout. Give me a little nod if you're ready. Looks like you're good to go. All right. Hey, welcome to the show.
Yeah, man. I'm not too familiar with the White Scar, so this is really good. I mean, I've been listening to the all your Primarch episodes, and I kind of know the first 3 already, but this was a learning lesson, we'll say. This was cool. I had no idea they had traitors, anything like that. Really cool to hear about that.
Yeah, there's one line that I found where Khan was getting really mad about the state of traitors in his rank. I almost got it pulled up. "We remain true. You can never have this. Not if they burn all we built and scorn us through the dancing flames. You hear me? We remain true." But yeah, just like, but not all of you guys did. You're coming on a little strong there, Khan.
I mean, yeah, because the only little tiny bit I thought I knew about him was like, pure true to the end. I had no idea they had traitors. That's really cool. That's a interesting fact. And then also, I think last night's episode, and you talked about it a little here, he is like the most level-headed of them all. He like measures it out. Even when the Emperor came, he wasn't just like bowing before the Emperor and giving fealty. He did give fealty, but he like thought about it like, well, this is probably the best choice for everybody.
Yeah. This seems to be the only option that everyone walks away from. So
Right.
yeah.
I just love that imagery though. That same choice that he gave to so many warlords, he's just now pondering himself. He's like, quite the predicament.
Table turned.
Yeah.
Right.
The galaxy has a funny sense of humor like that.
Yeah, super cool. Like to hear all the back and forth and the one lines he has for all his brothers that he doesn't get along with, and it's cool to see that he got along a lot with Magnus, because that's like one of my favorites, and it was cool because they're like kind of both outsiders, like obviously they're all brothers and all and stuff, but like they didn't really have a whole lot in common with the rest of them, so like it was kind of cool to see that they kind of linked up and had that similarity of being like outcast within their little brotherhood.
Yeah, it's interesting that even Primarchs kind of have that desire for brotherhood or like familial bonds, like even the way they call the Emperor their father. It's weird that they have that kind of
Yeah.
in them.
I feel some of them think that, and then they want that, but like I think the more I read, it's more like they're just they're like this is my favorite hammer, this is my favorite screwdriver.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I like it, but I'm not gonna go crazy if I lose it. I can make another one later.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah. What kind of things do you hope to see in the White Scars chapter and Legion episodes? Do you hope to see like rituals,
I'm
units? What's kind of the vibe? What should I dive into?
yeah. I'm just excited in general because I said I don't know much about him. I did read, I think it was a short story about I think what's their ritual called?
Yeah.
The blooding.
Yeah.
I think I read a short story about that, but that's all. That's my only insight I ever had. I never even met someone who's played White Scars. I always appreciate the color scheme. I think that has to do a lot with the color scheme because white is really hard to paint.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, they don't want to even go near it because it's like, oh, it's not going to look good. But
Can
I always thought
confirm.
they're cool. Motor, yeah.
Can confirm.
Motorcycles, Genghis Khan. You know what I mean? Like,
It's not the
it's
light.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Space Mongols,
Yeah, like, what's
right?
not
You
to
gotta
like
love
about
Space
that?
Mongols.
Yeah. It reminds me. Do you guys in the U.S. I don't know, they're prominent now, but there used to be a
Yeah.
motorcycle gang called the Mongols.
Okay.
They weren't Mongolian, obviously, but like their symbol was like the Mongol head with the top knot and all. And whenever I hear about the White Scars, I think of is outlaw
Right?
bikers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's 100%, man. Yeah, but they're good guys. I
But they're good
swear. I
guys.
swear they're good guys. Oh man.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, in the coming episode, yeah, go into like the rituals and all,
Yeah.
their way of life and all. Obviously, I think you follow your standard format because I've listened to you guys for a while. But I'm little truth here, I'm not the biggest Xeno fan. So when you guys started doing the Primarch episodes, I really jumped on because
Okay.
that's kind of like what gets me going.
Yeah.
So I've heard some Xeno ones, and I can get down with them, but I don't play any Xenos. I just play Imperium. Well, not Chaos. I play Chaos mainly, but still human. So I
Just
stick
give
to
him
the
a chance.
humanity.
I promise you. You put on one Xenos episode, and you'll be a filthy Xenos
Exactly.
lover in no time.
Well, what I'm worried about is I've been playing on and off for like a long time, and I've been pretty good with staying with one army. So the more I listen to episodes of yours or other episodes, I like get that itch, like
What do you play primarily?
Black Legion.
Okay, cool.
So I played Black Legion back when they had armless Abaddon, like the little guy.
Classic, yeah.
So when they when they redid it, I was so excited because like that Abaddon model is amazing, and they redid all the Chaos Marines, and it was like really cool. So I've been lucky to stick with that. That's still a lot of models. You can buy a lot of Chaos,
Yeah.
So been lucky to stick with that. Sprinkled in a couple demons. I got like a couple Nurgle demons and Khorne demons. So it's kind of two armies, maybe. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, but it's undivided. It's Black Legion. That's the beauty of it.
I can tell myself that I feel better because I only have one army. I haven't gone crazy yet.
Wow, way to just throw the rest of us under a bus there, you dick.
What the hell, man?
I am not ashamed of my pile of opportunity.
No. I mean, I like that pile of opportunity. I like that. I heard that a while ago. I like that way
I call
better.
it my plastic horde.
I have a I have I have a closet of opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just full of boxes
man.
ready to go.
Good times, for sure.
I love it. Well, closing thought there before we let young Spaghetti Seth in.
Yeah, he's been anxious from last night. Great episode. I love learning new stuff. Keep it up. It's really got me reinvigorated listening to you guys because I'm more of a podcast while I paint thing, so I'm not like too big on YouTube. So I jumped into here because I got the invite. But I like the lore. I like lore YouTubes, but I find myself gravitating more towards podcasts. And I like that you guys have a more story-driven podcast. A lot of the podcasts are about the game, and I do play, but I'm not like a competitive player or keep up on the latest meta trends. You know what I mean? So I love listening to like lore, but not just reading wiki. I like how you guys read stuff and then chat about it, and it's pretty cool. Yeah, I like
Yeah,
it.
well, I'm glad everyone's vibing
Keep
it,
it up.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know what's sweet about Lorehammer nowadays too is like this call-in section where we get to chill and meet all these other people. Because that was always my goal, man. Just talk to as many people about 40K as possible. So happy to have you on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, man.
did you have a podcast too? You said in private
Yeah, I
conversation.
do. Yeah, I mean, if you don't mind, like a shameless plug. Yeah, so it's called the Heresy Hangout, and it's mine and a coworker of mine. He's new to Warhammer. I've been like into Warhammer since I was like probably 18, 19. And we do is we read each Horus Heresy book and then do a like chapter by chapter breakdown and just talk about it.
Cool.
So I'm finishing book 4 now for the podcast, and 1, 2, and 3 are out. If anyone's interested, you can just look up the Heresy Hangout, YouTube, all the podcast things and all. So check it out if you're into that stuff. Really long form. They're like 4 hours
No,
long.
that's perfect, man. Like
but
when
I like that.
when writing notes myself to try to cram all this in an episode, I'm like staring down the page of 80 notes, and I'm like, why? That's not enough, man.
Yeah.
But no, that's sweet to see that you guys are really diving, because there's so much stuff that like we talk about and like how did that really kind of play out? But yeah, very cool, man.
Yeah, so if you want, check it out. It's pretty cool, pretty in depth. So we have fun. You know, I mean, the main thing is have fun. So we have fun, and just we like doing it. So more people listen, to be cool because we can keep it going and all. So yeah, thanks for having me on. I'll be listening. I'll keep on listening.
Perfect, man. Well, yeah, go check out the Heresy Hangout, and the next call in here we got Seth Khan. Hey, yo, welcome.
Oh, hello! I'm back. Finally,
you made it. All right, tell me how to say these names. How do I say these Asian names?
First off, Mark, you run an amazing podcast. It's an awesome operation, but I can't get over the fact that you've been pronouncing Khan as Can.
I can do it however I want.
It breaks my heart.
Cannot. It don't matter.
And I know many people have been wondering, because one of the big characters of the Horus Heresy is a guy whose name is Quinxa. And many people have been wondering how to pronounce that. I don't know how to pronounce that. I do not speak Chinese. I'm learning how to speak Korean. Completely different language. But I did do some research. It is
completely different language.
Chinja. So it's not actually...
Yes, I was right.
Yeah, no, Gerald got it. It's Chinja, because Chinese...
I just feel like I'm going to get in trouble if I say it like that.
No. I mean, you get in more trouble by mispronouncing it.
Well, I mispronounce it confidently. Come on, Seth. Like...
Mispronounce it confidently.
Yeah. You can't get in trouble if you're just dumb. That's what I find.
Go.
Like, that's...
Don't tell the haters, but you actually pronounce the J as a Y. Go around telling people it's Jaghatai Khan.
Jaghatai Khan. That's messed up. Now I don't believe you.
Or do you? So I do have I do have a theory, because one of the points raised the other day was, why is he Asian? Which is a weird question, but I'm Asian, half Korean, quarter Chinese, Thai, Vietnamese, Cambodian, blah blah blah. I can. Oh, did I talk? I feel like somebody's gonna find me by my genetic ratio. I have a theory. I am. Okay, I get it. There's a ton of people who like Lorehammer. I guarantee you, one of them is a genetic scientist. I am a 15-year-old in biology honors. But there's one difference between that person and me. It's that I paid for the Patreon and they didn't.
So you're the science expert now.
$5.
And that's all it takes.
I bet there's so many cool people out there with so many great stories, but they didn't pay, and ergo, I am on here, not you. Pay for the Patreon. Get on here. Shameless plug-in. Is Merlin Miniatures still sponsoring?
Technically, sure. They always are, man. Like, that's the beauty with the promo code. You can always pop in that promo code Lorehammer with Merlin Miniatures.
Use promo code Lorehammer. Join the Patreon. Join the Discord, please. As I was saying, so the God Emperor of Mankind, blessed as he may be on his holy throne of Terra, he is multiple super powerful Psyker shamans in one skin trench coat. This is that of a Turkish man, that general area, correct? But the tan skin, long black hair, glowing golden eyes.
Angry Space Jesus.
Yeah, classic traits of a Turkish man. 12
Glowing
foot tall,
eyes.
12 foot tall, glowing eyes.
Yeah. All the
Undeniable
classic
divinity.
marks.
And so I have a theory. It doesn't mention that all of these psychers come from one specific area. So you have in a human cell you have chromosomes, and one of these chromosomes, the 23rd pair, are the sex chromosomes, which can also control like your physical appearance, and you have dominant and recessive alleles. My theory is that it was just like a random genetic toss-up, and the emperor was scattered. The spirits all accumulated over Turkey for some place, and they were born into a little god emperor boy, and in him he has several recessive genes from different ethnicities. Hence why you've got none of the Primarchs really explicitly have their ethnicity stated. You can assume them by looking at their art, and also Guilliman is like undoubtedly British, but like okay, so there's a gene that came from, because all the Primarchs are made from the Emperor. So let's say a British, like one of the British shamans came, that's his genes being used in Guilliman's body, or like Mongolia, North China, that area.
Yeah, so it's kind of just like the Primarchs made the Emperor, and since the Emperor is kind of this like omni-racial figure.
Right, he's got so many other
yeah.
races hidden. That sounds weird, but he's got multiple recessive alleles for different looks, different races.
I will.
We all got a little race inside of all of us. It's nice.
I will counter your theory, Seth, with a different theory.
Oh.
So if you look at history, Genghis Khan had a sacred mountaintop that he used to go to called Burkhan Khaldun. And this area today is actually been guarded for about the last 800 years and has been a forbidden zone in Mongolia ever since Genghis Khan died. I think because this is like in Mongolia, kind of within that Eurasian steppe area, I think when the emperor and everybody set up their genetic laboratories, they searched out for all the greatest leaders within all these great tribes or histories and found the tomb of Genghis Khan, took his genetics, and then put it into the, quote unquote space Mongol leader.
Fuck yes.
Jaghatai.
So you think over somewhere between when the emperor was born, which is like Neolithic age or like caveman times, and like post Dark Age Unification Wars, which is like, what is it, like somewhere around the year 20,000?
Something like that.
First off, I like the theory that he took like history's greatest warriors and warlords and took their genes and stuffed them into pods and grew them, but that also raises some highly ethical questions of like,
the Emperor's not really like an ethical person,
really.
though,
Well, here's the thing too, Seth. When we get to talking about Leman Russ and the Space Wolves, there's a lot of speculation that in the gene laboratories when he created the Primarchs, there was some splicing of actual wolf DNA when he created Russ. So,
right?
What do you do? Purge in the chat says Arda is dark skin, makes more sense. He took her traits as opposed to a shaman theory. Yeah, you know what's weird though about Arda is like that's a relatively new invention in the lore. But Khan being Genghis Khan style Mongolian warrior, that's since that's long, many years.
I'm not sure decades. I like the idea of Khan technically being the son of the other one.
Khan.
Yeah, raises some questions about other horrible people in history. Like, hey, is Guilliman Caesar?
That was my thought process.
Or is he,
to be honest,
Is he Caligula? Is
Yeah.
is he one of the many horrible
Yeah.
Roman emperors?
Well, here's something that's also going to bake your noodle, Seth. When they were writing up the names, Jaghatai Khan was actually named after a historical Khan that came after Genghis called Jaghatai Khan, spelled with a CH
Yeah.
instead of a J.
It was his son.
my
Yeah,
God.
one of his sons.
Wait.
Chagatai.
Mm-hmm. So
Oh!
so from naming conventions, he literally is the son of Genghis Khan.
Oh, wow.
Wow, GW, so
My
original.
theory. I still hold on to my theory because I think it's cool but maybe it just happened because I was getting beaten over the head with information about genetics.
Yeah. You don't want to do that kind of stuff. You want to rest easy in the sweet arms of just 40k lore, where it's not really
Yes.
that important.
Yes, please. I don't
Yeah,
want
no
to
one's
talk
gonna live or die.
I don't want to talk about blood types and how is the universal acceptor.
No.
I want to talk about how the emperor is actually multiple shamans.
Corn
in one
Corn
guy.
is the universal blood acceptor. I'll have
Yes, I need to
That's
start
what
just
you-
writing corn as the answers to all my answers on my worksheet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Heresy Hangout. Gilliman is Marcus Aurelius. Absolutely. Yeah.
I like that.
That's a good one.
I like that.
Ooh. Yeah, I like it,
Well-
but I feel like GW would never say something alluding
No.
to that because, like,
This is all speculation.
okay, this is gonna sound a little bit weird, but like Hitler was one of the worst
Yeah,
military
which
dictators.
Primarch is Hitler?
Yes, exactly.
It's
In
gotta
all
be
my
Perturabo.
years, I've never heard that one.
They would never let that be canonized because
The 2nd or 11th, you heard it here first. Hitler is
Oh,
the 2nd
no.
or 11th Primarch. Lorehammer has made it
Lorehammer.
canon.
Exclusive.
Ah,
Yeah.
I remember the day Lorehammer died and got demonetized.
I was there.
I
The day
didn't say I
Mark slew
recommend it.
Lorehammer.
Oh man.
Oh man. Okay, Seth. Any closing thoughts there? Closing
Just
statement.
one quick question prompt. I'm reading Eidolon the Auric Hammer, or I finished reading it, and he mentions a lot about fighting the Khan's rabble. Like, what do you think is up with 2? Also, by the way, speaking of Emperor's Children, you got me into Emperor's Children. Please help me.
No.
I've ordered a box set.
No.
Help me.
My brother and the Emperor,
Don't
what
do
have
it.
you done?
Help me. Help
What
me.
have you done? Don't do it.
The box set's already at the local game shop. It's already there. But now
Must resist.
now you do White Scars, and yesterday I was finding myself staring at the Corsaro Khan's Warhammer page, and I was just thinking, $30-something. It's only $30-something. Like,
Yeah, I've always thought, what's money at the end of the day? It's all fake anyways. Might as well buy some minis.
yeah, but you have a job, so
I fucking do Lorehammer. Is that a
Lame.
job?
Adult
Yeah.
with stable income flow. He
Yeah,
doesn't need
donate to the old Lorehammer Patreon if you want Mark to not starve to death.
Okay, so
Yeah.
before I go, I just want to prompt you guys, like, do you think a lot of people say, oh, White Scots, they have to be Asian, but I like dabbling in a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Like, for example, I like thinking, like, oh, there's the Horus Heresy, the legions were so vast and so spread out. Like, the sides of the Emperor, they were like one of the Ultramarine companies, and they got into their own area and their own campaign. They had their own badge that they got to war over the Ultramarines insignia. So, like, do you think, like, there are other legions that could have, like, oh, maybe this legion has their own cons because they fought alongside the White Scars for, like, the Hamana Crusade and the Bubba sector.
Yeah.
Do you think
Yeah,
that's
like
possible?
campaign badges definitely exist, that for sure. And campaign badges are usually on, I believe it's the left knee, if you're looking at the dude.
I think so.
Um,
Yeah, I always thought,
but like,
samurai-
yeah, like titles and stuff, like, yeah, maybe he allowed some other people to get titles and stuff, but I don't think so. Like, the Khan was very, like, reclusive almost. Maybe not reclusive is the right word, but like, he wasn't sharing stuff necessarily. He shared with his legion, and if you came from his planet, he treated you like his family. But beyond that, like, he wasn't really accepted or
You wouldn't find
you
like
know.
an iron, like some guy who fought alongside the White Scars, and he's like, "Oh, I'm an Iron Warrior Khan."
I really don't,
Well,
man. What do you think, Brody?
They tried to make Arvita, 1,000 Sun, into a White Scar hybrid.
Whoa!
Like we already,
I need to
because
look that up.
they made armor for him and everything, and they were like they were ready to adopt him into the Legion.
Okay, well that changes my thought on it. You're right,
So
for sure.
like, I think it's definitely
Yeah.
possible that you could have that. Like there was another guy, there was an Iron Hand that fought with a bunch of White Scar guys at one point in time, and he painted a pauldron of his white to basically signify that he was with them. Yeah.
Cool.
I feel like the White Scars might give some of their martial titles or like badges of honor to some other guys, because I'm not too well versed in White Scars lore, but even though I do want to get into it, I feel like they're kind of like doesn't matter what your birth is from, if you can prove your martial prowess and martial honor to us, then you can be one of our brothers. Does that feel right? Is that right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Let
Pretty
me
close.
ask. Let me ask you this, just so I'm understanding the question right. Are you just talking about like other legions or other chapters kind of adopting White Scars customs, or are you just talking about, how do I say this? Like, like Khan is like, Space Mongolian, but are you talking about like other people joining the White Scars that are not necessarily Space Mongolian, or
A little bit of A. I initially meant to phrase it as like, oh, do you think other other companies within legions during the Heresy and the Crusade could have adopted White Scar customs? But then it kind of morphed into, hey, do you think the White Scars might try to be like, oh, you're cool, you're one of us now?
I don't know.
Because
I'm gonna need a minute to think about that.
Yeah, like I think it's one thing if you have somebody joining the Legion of the White Scars, that you can wrap your head around, you embrace what they are, what they're up to, that's the unity. But man, as soon as you get to another Legion who's like, well, fuck my Legion's kind of history and I'm gonna do some White Scar stuff, they're gonna give me the cat. I don't know, that just seems a little too much. Like all the other Legions have just as much pride and like heritage and all that kind of stuff, but fun examples do happen all the time.
I have a little idea that I wrote up. It's like one of the White Scars companies during the Horus Heresy just kind of got lost in the warp for a while, and they show up periodically from time to time to kick ass and then get sucked back into the warp again. And they're always following this giant like Sanguinor type angel that they believe is like leading them to the Khan. And one of their guys is the enquiry to their Khan of their group, their fellowship, is the enquiry is like a son of Horus, and he wears like half white, half green armor to show that he's like, I proved myself. I'm with them now. They think I'm cool, so I'm with them. But I don't know if you guys think that's plausible.
I think like rare instances like that, like that's like the exception. It's not necessarily the rule. So I think like certain instances like that can be fine. Because I mean, a lot of what we talk about here in Lorehammer is like the exception that makes it into the story. So that should be fine. As far as like as far as me think about the other part, what am I trying to say here? To answer the other part of your question, as kind of like what Mark was bringing up, like as long as you believe in the tenets of the Legion that you're joining, as long as you're the appropriate age and you pass the genetic screening that you have to go through to make sure you're compatible with the Primarch's gene seed, then that's fine. Like you don't necessarily have to be. Obviously, they take a preference from, in the White Scars case, from Chagoris, but that doesn't preclude you from, if you're from Terra, that doesn't preclude you from joining.
And I know I said that last question.
Prerequisites.
I know I said last question a while, but this is the last question for real. Do you think you can get like a gene seed transplant? Like, let's say, okay, we have the 1,000 Suns and we have a Night Lord, and this Night Lord is super duper psychic. And so the 1,000 Suns are kind of just waddle up to Sevatar and Kurz and his gang. That was for you, Jax. just pick up this super psychic Night Lord and just bring him over, stuff him in some fancy armor, and can they like transplant his gene seed, or like will it not be possible? Will he always be like full son of Kerr's gene seed?
Yeah,
What do you
like
think?
gene seed's a very interesting thing. It comes in so many different forms, from just like the little ability to spit acid, which sure, you could definitely replace that little fucking gene seed acid spitter part. But then there's also other ones like like the sin. Yeah, well, that one, that's like the heart of it, not the literal heart, but like the spiritual heart of the gene seed, the genetic code of it all. So if like you don't need that one though either. Like, so if you replace that one with another chapter's gene seed, it doesn't do anything for you. That's like replacing your sperm. It's like doesn't. That's not its point. It's not giving you a benefit. It's supposed to create the next generation. We do have chimeras and stuff like that where they have during their original creation process where they will take multiple gene seeds and shove it in one guy.
Right, like Hans.
Yeah, but once you're kind of made, you're kind of made. And like, okay, you take out the second heart and replace that. Like,
yeah, you can't. I can't go in and change all my genetics. It's already there. Like, I can't drastically differ it from what was passed down from my parents.
Yeah, like some things you can definitely maybe change slightly, but most of it's pretty much it's baked in at that point for sure. But we did some great gene seed episodes. Definitely go listen to them for a lot more detailed kind of breakdown on all that, because it's such a big kind of topic.
I think it was the making of a Space Marine where you first made the "This is Christian's last episode" joke.
Oh God,
man, hard to believe it's like over 100 episodes old already.
That fucking guy still hasn't been booted.
How is he still here? How does he go?
I don't know how his contract is so ironclad with Lorehammer Legal, but we'll try to work that out.
All right, well, I'm gonna skedaddle. Audience, listeners, look, you should join the Patreon. I've been a huge fan. You guys got me into the hobby, and like almost a year ago at this point, I went to my mom, said, "Here's like $30 from people that I got this money legitimately from. Can I buy the Space Marine Inferno set?" Because I had been listening to Lorehammer episode after episode after episode. It was all I listened to. And I thought, the hobby, dang, this is so cool. I want to play this. So I bought that, and then I realized that it was unplayable on tabletop, and then I just kind of waited for a bit. But eventually, somebody at my local games shop gave me the Space Marine half of Leviathan, and then I painted it all with no primer because I didn't realize I needed that. But hey, I've got 1,000 points of Leagues of Votann. I may or may not have accidentally ordered an Emperor's Children box set. I may or may not buy Jaghatai Khan. Anything
you can do whatever you want with your money as long as you subscribe to that Lorehammer Patreon first and foremost. After that, it's all just horsecock. Who cares?
Gotta keep the Lorehammer bucks flowing. Patreons for the Tide God. Exactly. But right, you should join. I know there's genetic scientists out there. I know there's got to be at least one 40-year-old man in like Iowa or somewhere who thinks, "Dang, that Seth kid, he's pretty cool." I know I've got one fan out there because so far the only fan I've gotten is a guy who commented on one of your podcast episodes about Perturabo saying, "Hey, that Seth guy's pretty cool. I can't wait to see more of him." Conveniently, that person also happened to share my name, my face, and my Spotify account.
Those are just details. Semantics.
I'm sure it's nothing.
Whatever. Yeah. All right, adios, Patreon. Seth. Thanks for calling in.
Heresy Hangout. Lorehammer promo code. See you later.
Adios. All right, we'll do our end of the show notes real quick here. Seth, thanks for calling in. That's truly... I didn't know I'd be working with autistic people so often, but truly when you get involved in the Warhammer community, that is what happens. But hey, end notes. The Heresy Hangout, I had you on my show. Do I get to go on your show? That's just the self-invite right there. I would love to come on, but go check them out. Also, you can come check out Lorehammer Listen to Lore podcast. It's a great time. I read off your homebrew lore.
Yep. And then whenever you're done listening to the Grim Darkness of the Far Future, let's talk about the Grim Darkness of the fantasy setting in Warhammer Fantasy with the Grimlore podcast. Me and my co-host, we talk about Warhammer Fantasy, Age of Sigmar, and then really whatever Grim and or Dark settings we kind of feel like talking about. Mostly Halo and Destiny as well, but we've also talked about Fallout. We did a crossover with Star Lords and other fun stuff. We also did a Fallout episode. So
Nice. And if you want to follow Brody, I have a live feed in his bathroom. You can just DM me for the link, and we can hook you up, and you can watch the adventures of
Telling
Brody.
you right now, it's wild in there.
It's wild.
Yeah, no. If you guys, if you guys do want to follow me at all, I am dwarven.horde.minis. Horde is with an E, so DWARVEN. Dwarven.HORDE.minis. So, and I'm on that's Instagram. And I've got a TikTok that I don't go on, so don't follow me there. But yeah,
Nice.
It's basically a bunch of painted models. I'm actually starting to post a little bit more, like becoming more regular. My hours at my job have changed a little bit, so I actually have like very free mornings. So like I don't go to work until 10 now. So I'm basically just painting in the mornings and trying to get that set up. So yeah, if you guys want to follow me there, that'd be great. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah. All right, everyone. Well, that's another episode. The next episode we got is the White Scars 30K Legion era. And after that, we'll wrap it up with the White Scars 40K chapter era. But we'll see you all on the next episode. Adios.